feelings left out in the open. Saw the fear in your eyes as we move through the dust. Nights turn into days, one by another. Under darkened skies, we await, bound to each other. But our spirits never die. Faded as we push through the darkest times. I'll be there by your side. We arise when everything's breaking. Our souls will awaken. Our spirits never die. At the end of the line, the trust in our hearts beating louder. Under darkened skies, we await, bound to each other. But our spirits never die. Faded as we push through the darkest times. I'll be there by your side. We arise when everything's breaking. Our souls will awaken. Our spirits never die.
These are those moments I don't think anybody else is going to forget. ESL 2020 Counter-Strike Recaptured. We haven't tried it before. We're going to give it a go. I'm Machine, and I'm joined by Sponge to bring you all of the action. An attempt to summarize an entire year of Counter-Strike. It's easy to forget all of those good bits. And actually, let me give you a quick taste of the amount of ridiculous stuff we've managed to dig up in pursuit of the info for the 2020 recap show. So we're going to be seeing top teams, players coming into 2020, checking out some of those Deagle plays, clutches, even the first ESL Masters Championship over in Katowice. And then, of course, the world turned on its head. COVID hits, and it does echo throughout the online era. We also talk a little bit more about the top AWP plays, plenty of them this year, as well as Counter-Strike specialty, drama. We go dig into that and see all of the ridiculous twists and turns the drama brought. ESL One Cologne, the coaches being naughty, top fails, roster moves, aces, even the breakthrough stars. Taking a look at some of the names that really stood out to us throughout the breakthrough of their careers, from those rookies to rising the ranks. Global Challenge preview and top players of the year. It's all on the show today, and I'm practically out of breath just listing that off. We're going to be talking about all of that as well.
You've only just scratched the surface there, mate, and thank God we have this extended show to do this, because you know we waffle on the analyst desk. People, casters stop talk, all of that nonsense. Well, today we actually get to dig into it, and we need to start in the beginning. I'm really excited with how we got here, right? 2019 was a great year. Moving into 2020, we had some amazing players. We had some amazing teams. Australia's still the top dog. We got to dig into that. You're right, though. Katowice straight into COVID. A lot of restructuring there, man. And I don't think it's all been doom and gloom for the Counter-Strike world in the COVID period. We've actually had quite a few highlights that I'm sure we'll be discussing.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet, I think. I think that's probably my highlight. I think the fact of the matter is that, you know, seeing this, the whole community coming together and managing to somehow manage to compete, albeit with the various sacrifices, has been kind of yeah, promising and encouraging. But I absolutely do think we've got a lot to say. I'm sure you guys do too. So if you want to highlight anything in particular, use the hashtag CSGO 2020 as we run through this show and join the conversation wherever you see fit. I'm excited to talk about the rookies. I'm also excited to see those top plays because, you know, a Reddit top voted comment in January is going to be easy to slip my mind by now.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? When you remember some of these plays that happened earlier in the year, it feels like they happened a year ago, and that's the truth of the matter, right? It has been a very long year. We've had a lot of Counter Strike. We've had some big roster moves as well in the mix here. I don't want to spoil too much in case people haven't been keeping up with how the Counter Strike landscape has been shifting around. But a player close to my heart had a huge roster change this year. A
Mhm.
team close to my heart is no longer competing together. And then, we still have one more event, right, Alex? There's still one more event to cap out this year, and it might be the best of all of them.
Fingers crossed, yeah, the Global Challenge will be giving you a preview at the very end of this recap of the entire year to celebrate what could be the final event of the year. 8 teams, 500 thou does sound pretty damn spicy. But before we get any of that, I think a perfect way to really whet our appetite is to have a quick supercut of some of the highlights of the year as we get this party started for the recap show.
For now, please watch the event on Twitch, watch it online. Bollocks closed.
The world is in a bit of a weird place, but Counter-Strike is where it belongs. It's on your screens and it continues here. It's not possible. Clave will win it 16-2. Hello, hello. Victorious Peter.
What a desk it is, my friends. We have gone all out for this iconic event.
Get ready for Acadian pop-off, because he's done it. He closes and leads his team to yet another win.
They rushed the site. They tried to deny the ball one, but it's a disaster. Furia take it. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo!
So, coming into 2020, we have your rankings. No surprise, Astralis are still kings of the world, holding that #1 spot. Mousesport's in the top 3, though. They just won ESL Pro League in ONSA, and you can see Liquid were a high performer holding that top 5 position. There was many a storied Astralis-Liquid battle, and, I mean, Team Liquid as a whole, that was probably one of the best years we've seen from them.
Yeah, mate. The fact that they picked up the Intel Grand Slam in record pace, it showed that it could have actually been their year. But I want to delve and talk a bit more about North American Counter-Strike, because Liquid were doing fantastic. So was EG. So was 100 Thieves. You got Fury and MIBR in the mix as well. And as a region, I think 2019 for North American Counter-Strike was the best we had seen yet. The fact that so many squads were threatening, so many squads could run deep within tournaments and threaten for those trophies was something we've never seen before from North America. Traditionally, oh yeah, they go in, they get an upset. Maybe there's one team, a Cloud9 in the world, or Liquid with some good performances. But with the likes of EG and Liquid being super legit, 100 Thieves just a step or two away from getting to that point as well, North America was really setting to kick on off. And I mentioned 100 Thieves. I can't go any further without mentioning JKS, right? 2019 for this kid, he was the first time an Australian Counter-Strike player has ever made it into HLTV.org's top 20. Alex, he came in at number 15. Now, you know me, I consider myself to be a very proud Australian, and JKS I'm extremely close to. So for this kid to make it into the top 20 at that ranking of 15th, that was a very, very proud moment for me of 2019 coming into 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of reaffirmed to the world what you'd been saying for years, right? That the kid was going to be one of the greatest. And I mean, actually, we'll talk more about JKS, but his story definitely doesn't end with a top 20 start over in 2019 into 2020. When you take a look at his stats as well, it's actually really interesting. I've got the players to compare. You've got Elige from Liquid, and when you take a look at him, finished 4th, really solid rating. Seeing someone like, I think it's actually really interesting to start this show saying that in 2019, Elige's stats were fire. 1.21. We've got Device on the screen there as well. He's certainly not too shabby with a 1.22, but these were some of the best players of our previous year.
Yeah, and this is the thing. These are only the players who are outside of the top 2. And those 2 names we have to talk about. Number 1, we got to talk about the man in 2019 that was ZywOo. This kid, he was in his rookie year of Tier 1 Counter-Strike, of playing against the big boys. And ZywOo came out and blew us all away by being the number 1 player. The fact that he goes toe-to-toe against somebody like Simple, the player that we call the god of the game, probably the best player that I think has ever done it. And he got pipped at the post by ZywOo, who, he was born on the day that 1.0 was released. He was prophesized by Nell back in 2018 to be a player to look out for, to think that this guy was going to be a superstar. And that was the case. This guy is a legitimate superstar, one of the absolute best to ever do it. And as we look forward into 2020, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Counter-Strike that will have his name over it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of players probably wish they'd listened to that tweet. 100 grand buyout for ZywOo, and they wouldn't take anything less. I think that's always really funny because I'm sure the buyout might be a little bigger now after the year he's been having. Some of the highlights I have seen out of that man are ungodly, truly. And I think, you know, speaking of those highlights, there would be no better way than actually taking a look at some of them. I'm sure there is chock-a-block list of ZywOo and Simple at their best. So why don't we take a look before we carry on?
Down, but where's ZywOo's fragged? He's got to start posting something, but from where?
I love this one from Anders. He says, I'd say ZywOo is like the ultimate test taker. All his decisions are what you want to do if you could slow the game down and think longer. But for me, Simple is an artist, the guy who will find an answer that people making the test didn't even know existed. And that's the closest I've seen to a succinct summary of trying to separate these two and try and differentiate between them. Because it's been a conversation for the entire year, Chad, trying to separate these two.
Yeah, everyone has their favorite, right? Their horse in the race, as it were.
Yeah.
I want to point out the fact that this is the first time in a while I've heard Anders be coherent and actually make a lot of sense. So we're going to put that one up against Are You Kidding Me? That's fantastic, Anders. We might need to get that one engraved somewhere, man.
What is going on? You even made sense. That's how crazy of a year 2020 was. Anders actually tweets something that makes sense. But you know what actually didn't make sense, Chad? Wow, look at that segue. You see what I'm doing here? We do want to focus on some of the events leading up to our first Masters event of 2020. So that's I Am Katowice around March time. And so in order to get those teams locked in, we had 3 events. There was DreamHack Masters Malmo, and we'll focus on that one first of all, but also IEM Beijing and EPL Season 10. Those 3 events qualifying teams for that Masters Championship. And so starting with DreamHack Masters, Chad, this was a trip to Malmo and one that had a lot of stakes, both personal and professional.
Towards ramp, and ZywOo ready and willing to take that fight. Oh dear. Things are arriving. So it's with just the knees there. No! He's dead! Shot! Apex! They only need 2 more! CW, have they done enough? Shots to save Vitality! Complete the Cinderella story! Live from Sweden!
Oh man, I remember this event. It was me and Hank, and I was like one of my first kind of casting gigs of the year.
We can hear the crowd, mate. This is actually a terrible way to be starting this whole 2020 recapture.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that crowd roar, but it makes my job so much easier, man.
Dear, I think here as well, for people who aren't too familiar with how this event kind of unfolded, this was the Swedes reuniting, right? Fnatic showing that they could still be a threat within World Counter-Strike. It was an event where I think the winner nobody would have predicted when we started, right? That rock pendulum just happened.
And I swear to God, I could have the stats wrong just off the top of my dome, but I swear it was like nearly 6 months that Flusher was away from the game. And he just came back genuinely away from the game. Like we did interviews and he said, I haven't played the game until the last few weeks leading up to this tournament. So he took, you know, almost a half-a-year break, and he comes in and wins his first offline event. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
and then, you know, Fnatic suddenly are on our radars coming into 2020.
Yeah, they really elevated themselves towards the tail end of 2019. And when you look at this team, we know that they're a LAN team, right? We know that they, once we get within these arenas that are packed with the fans, that's when they do their most elaborate and audacious things. But there was another event that followed this one, and it was IEM Beijing. Now, this is one where, look, I don't know if people know the hype man here, but he could have been the hypest thing about this event. We had him up on stage getting that Chinese crowd roaring, and Astralis, of course, they were in the grand final, but they were up against a very unlikely opponent, Alex. It was 100 Thieves, who had just become the 100 Thieves, going so deep in the tournament already. And this was where we thought, oh, are the Aussie boys really going to start to become a threat within World Counter-Strike? Can they take it to a team like Astralis on this big stage? And look, I won't ruin it for everybody. It wasn't a final. You don't want to go back and watch that one, because Astralis made mincemeat of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it definitely did. And from the Danes taking the first spot to the Danish soil. It is, of course, Odense, season 10 of the EPL finals. And it was none other than Mousesports to make the splash. It was also another glimpse of what this new Fnatic were capable of. They were facing off against the Swedes in that grand final. Quite the crowd gathering in Odense. For the size it was, an incredibly loud affair. The Danes certainly no absent of passion for the Counter-Strike, but Mousesports picking that one up. And just getting to see, you know, that was when Woptic really did start to blow up and look like a very big selection for the Mousesports roster at the time.
And think about what that meant for Carrigan as well. That's in front of his home crowd. He actually had to beat Astralis on the run here. We saw Glaive give the desk a little bit of a bashing in earlier matches than that tournament as well. So Odense to be picked up by a Mousesports, who towards the tail end of 2019 was starting to pick up a lot of steam and look like a contender for that #1 spot. That was a huge victory for them. And in this race to get to Katowice, a very important one.
They had one goal. That's it. That's all they wanted. And credit to Eds, who did the unthinkable to take down world #2. Comebacks in all fashions, but you can't mess with greatness. You can't mess with history.
It's called the biggest esports event on the planet for a reason.
The pounding heart of esports beats louder here in Katowice.
Start your esports career now at play.eslgaming.com.
Carpe diem, I know I got only one life. Don't wanna spend it, listen to you bitch and whine. It's a little mean, I know, well, apologies. But my New Year resolutions and my honesty. Trust me, it ain't nobody, nobody that say nobody, nobody that say none of my business. It ain't none of your business. Nobody, nobody that say nobody, nobody that say none of my business. It ain't none of your business. Okay, stuck on the same excuses. I think it's getting old. I ain't your therapist, I ain't your measure. Hey, oh, can't really tell you anything you don't already know. No one said it was easy. Don't even bother, cause I'm in this your location. I turned off my phone and my patience. I wanna help you, but you ain't even trying.
For now, watch the event on Twitch, watch it online. SpotX closed.
Still a 5-on-3. Smoke down towards Xbox, makes things a bit more problematic for Nexus. So just a flashbang. He needs at least 2 kills to have a chance in the round. There's the first, not bad at all. There's the second, it's working out. Let's go, Nexa! My goodness gracious me, he's pulled it off. We said he needs 2, he somehow gets 4.
Kenny's going to hold for the ramp key. Pretty ballsy decision as it leaves him on 2 points of health, but he's still alive, still kicking. Nexa tries to swing out from Goose, and Cold with his Deagle, looking for a little bit more. Now down to the 1v3. This is made scary by coldzera. He's walked down 2, now in with another. Kenny and Amanek, the 2 players that survive. coldzera almost on for the ace, and it's only Amanek left. Cold gets it, FaZe at 11th round.
Last remaining player, lovely shot there with the Desert Eagle, but not really much else he can do.
Yeah, he might be able to get across. Yeah, and you actually try and throw that FAMAS away, make sure that they force the CT economies for the rebuy. Another shot hit by coldzera. And another one from Cold. Triple kill, $700 spent, and he could shatter the CT defenses. He's done it! coldzera, remember the name, he's back to his old tricks.
Okay, looks like I need to have coldzera's Deagle at the tip of my tongue when I'm talking about Deagle players, Chad. He's got two of the top 3. I don't think I'm giving the man enough credit.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? coldzera pulling off some magic moments throughout the year. Your squeal, however, I think it takes the cake out of all those clips.
Yeah, actually, that was like right at the start of the year, and I remember Henry just pulling me aside, and he's like, "Hey, dude, yeah, you great, some great stuff there in the cast. Less squealing, like just less of that, and I took that feedback on board. We've been slowly turning down the screams, apart from Simple's P250 nonsense, very recently.
We'll hear that later. We'll definitely make sure we hear that one later on. I think here, if we take a look, right, we've got a lot more Magic plays still to come throughout this tournament, but there was a couple of events, right, before we get stuck into Katowice, Alex.
Yeah, there was, and I want to start with DreamHack Leipzig. This was right in January, right start of the year, and it was our first kind of look at what the lay of the land was going to be to start off our year. Now, not all big names in attendance, but enough for us to really get a little flavor of who's going to be on our radars in that Tier 2 scene.
And they've done it yet again here to kick off 2020. Leipzig, make some noise!
It was Big Clan that picked it up, Berlin International Gaming, and it's, of course, with some newer names. They went hunting for talent, and they found some.
I think here, make sure you're looking at Keto and you're looking at Sirison, right? Because they're going to be big talking points throughout this review show. But they're the 2 names which we need to be keeping our eyes on from Big. But on the other side of things is Heroic. They were in this event. They went out of the tournament in 3rd, 4th position. They're another name that you're going to be hearing a lot of throughout this show. But keep in mind, this time, Esatag and Snappy. Those 2 names within this squad had a turbulent year, had a lot of bits and pieces happen throughout their 2020. But back at the start of the year, Heroic, they weren't looking anywhere near as threatening as what we might imagine now, Alex.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And seeing, Esatag and Snappy departing, a lot of people would think that's the backbone of Heroic gone. I mean, those were some of the most recognizable names that had gone on to succeed. And to see, the remains of that, your Borup, Cadian, Stown, all present and correct. They continue to have, a real upswing in performance and a lot of resilience seen from Heroic. Of course, not enough in Leipzig, falling to Big Clan over the course of that best-of-3 series. But it wasn't just Leipzig. It was actually a whole lot more. We got to talk a little bit about North America earlier, and the Evil Geniuses. I mean, this has been a turbulent year for North America. It did start similarly for those representatives. And with 2 early exits, EG on European soil, both at Blast and IEM, it definitely set the tone for EG's 2020.
Yeah, Alex, it felt like it was more like their Malmo performances than the ESL One New York performances where they lifted the trophy over Australis, right? And that's not where we wanted EG to start off the year, because you heard me talking about it before. Liquid and EG were the 2 absolute powerhouses from North America. That didn't used to be the case, though. The powerhouse team from North America, even though they're not North American, used to be the MIBR boys. And for them, I think that 2020 is definitely a year that they won't be forgetting anytime soon.
Yeah, actually, that's perfect. MIBR and their 2020. It's a conversation in itself. Let's check it out.
MIBR's start to the year was disheartening, as they were defeated by Cloud9 in the Katowice qualifier. This would be only the beginning of their worries, as they would go on to finish last place at Blast Premier.
Here we go, 16-9. They bring it to a close and take down MIBR 2-1.
And place 5th to 6th at DreamHack Open Anaheim. An event by all accounts they should be winning.
Coming in, and for Fallen, he's too far away from B. The game is done. Complexity, they'll take this series. They're going to the semi-finals, and they send MIBR home in a 2-0.
Later in the year, they'd suffer one of their most damning defeats yet, to Wisla Krakow, a team you'd be forgiven for not quite knowing. Things would eventually go from bad to worse for the Brazilian side, as they would be replaced at IM New York due to their RMR points being reset as a result of the coaching scandal.
Yeah, so MIBR, I mean, it really has been, I'd say probably, 70, 80% of this year has been a trial and a trial by fire, turbulation and tribulation for the MIBR roster.
Yeah, that's an absolute nightmare. It's been an absolute nightmare over a year, and that feels like an understatement as far as that team is concerned. But we do have another Brazilian name that we need to just quickly make a note on here. Is qualifying for IEM Katowice was Furia. They wanted to give that one a crack, and they actually bombed out in last place, Alex. Now, that is not the Furia that we've known and loved today, and I'm sure we'll get stuck into that as the show continues. But for Furia to bomb out in that fashion, it didn't paint the picture that Brazilian Counter-Strike was looking hot.
Certainly not the dream start for them, but Furia, we learn, are a volatile prospect throughout the year and one that we're still struggling to pinpoint. But to lead us into the next part, why don't we go ahead and remind ourselves of just how good a clutch can look. When you are presented with the impossible task, the task that makes Counter-Strike so damn cool, you are the only one that can influence the result. The rest of your teammates are gone. Let's look at the very best of this chess game that Counter-Strike can be.
Yeah, you got the bomb down, but where's ZywOo's frags? He's got to start posting something, but from where? What vantage point can he possibly seize? He's even been flanked. And Electronic looking for the cleanest finish. He's been turned on. ZywOo, no health really, but he's still hitting shots. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo! Unbelievable!
Regrouping towards CT. Stewie will be trying to catch one, and he does. Flamey's gone down, and now just perfecto and simple. He needs a multi-kill. First found. Twist aggressing. They have to double peek. He's getting his shot. He's hitting another one. Simple. No, Simple. That's unbelievable. What in his name? #1 in the game. He's done it again.
Last remaining player. Lovely shot there with the Desert Eagle, but not really much else he can do.
Yeah, he might be able to get across. Yeah, and you actually try and throw that FAMAS away, make sure that they force the CT economies for the rebuy. Another shot hit by coldzera. And another one from Cold. Triple kill, $700 spent, and he could shatter the CT defenses. He's done it!
It's just Chris bomb in his hand, though. He can plant in this. He started that before the Molotov. In fact, Molotov's not going to reach him, and he might chase down at least get one. Good start, aggressive, finds out Flamey, not done there, sees the play on the tracks, he's actually got Simple down. We know this guy can ace, we saw it in New York, he's got it into a 1-on-2, and he's actually sliding away. He's got another shot on Boomich. Is this guy up for the play of the decade already in 2020? He nearly got it in 2018. As Chris sneaks away, Electronic is found, he's baited him out, he's got the time in his favor. What an ace clutch this would be. He's got the bomb off the situation, and he's got Electronic down. Put it in for play of the year already.
And now, unfortunately, BMAS, it was a 2-pronged assault. He does get tagged by Poison, leaping now from the balcony. Gives him a chance to isolate one. 15 seconds, he'd need Poison now. Just a Glock. It's just not enough. It's just not enough, but he's made it work. Switches to the AWP. BMAS, you are insane!
God, that BMAS one slipped my mind as well. I mean, that's who is it that died in the kitchen window? I
think it was Rush.
Yeah, you're going to be red-faced after that one, but you can't even criticize. I mean, that was just BMAS, and that was kind of where we started, really starting to remember the name BMAS.
We're at the start of the year, Alex. Like a lot of people, if you just were watching Counter-Strike at that point, or if we're in January still right now, look, who is BMAS? That's probably the question a lot of people would have been asking themselves. But one of the standouts there for me was how many clips that Navi were involved in, either getting the frags or receiving end. Chris J really showed him a thing or two there on train.
And then talking of Navi, this one really baffled me, but it's easy to forget. Guardian was benched after a very short-lived return, and Perfecto was brought in from Simon Gaming, who we saw, of course, doing some damage at the CIS minor. And this brand new rookie joins Navi ahead of the Ice Challenge and then into Katowice. So this was our first glimpse at what was only really Guardian's last hurrah.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? The whole Guardian situation, I thought it was going to be fantastic for Navi because I thought a flexible player like Simple would have been able to now do more of the AWPing and rifling, secondary AWPer, right? Allow Guardian just to do the primary, more boring roles, but that wasn't to be the case. They brought in Perfecto, a name that you and I, yeah, we had the privilege of casting a little bit in 2019 around that Berlin major, but all in all, we weren't expecting a huge amount when we were looking forward to Katowice.
Yeah, and it was the fact that they'd gone for Perfecto. You know, there was other names on the tip of the tongue, but Navi, they did their research and chose for Perfecto. And this is the rankings coming into Katowice, of course, starting in February. You can see Mousesports have taken that top spot. They take it away from Astralis as well. And this is really when they start, you start wondering, you know, how long can they maintain this? Mousesports have got so much, like, look at the 5 names at that point in time, Chad. It was just a roster stacked with individuals that, if they all hit their peak, could hold that #1 spot.
Yeah, that was the scary thing, right? You had that trio of Frozen, Woxic, and Rops that was just gargantuan. But I want to put my eyes a little bit lower here, Alex, because we mentioned a lot of North American Counter-Strike. They have EG and Team Liquid well and truly within that top 5, and that's fair enough. But we also have the likes of 100 Thieves and Furia in the mix as well. Furia with that DreamHack Anaheim run managed to get themselves within the top 10. But 100 Thieves to be cemented as a top 10 team in the world going into a massive event, I don't think we were expecting too much from them. But what they delivered against Mousesports here in an elimination game. This was to get through, to go to the arena with some fantastic CS. And look, I'm not going to lie about this one. To see them pulling this off and making it to that stage yet again, I started to think, man, maybe they're going to be a real contender to go even deeper within this top 10.
And I can't even fault you for that. I mean, like, as we've already covered, you know, they started the year strong, seeing them pushing Astralis in Beijing at the end of 2019. And then, you know, you get to this stage and already they're, you know, they're popping heads and turning them again. Taking down Mousesports, who are holding the #1 spot, was an achievement, and 100 Thieves picking that up was big. And Virtus Pro, interestingly enough, the finalist of the last major, bombed out in last place as well.
Yeah, that was a bit of a rough one there, but we turn our attention to Astralis. Sure, they weren't the #1 team, but they went through their group stage flawless, right? They didn't drop a map, and they were sitting pretty. They set themselves up for those playoffs, and we're thinking, okay, well, this is the Astralis we all know and love, and they're just going to run through this tournament. But Navi, look, they had a battle and a half of theirs, right? Navi, we just mentioned the fact Guardian out, Perfecto win. They had the Ice Challenge. They've got Perfecto in this roster. How much can we really expect? Well, they lost to Fnatic to get knocked down to that lower bracket, and then they had to go up against names like NIP and FaZe Clan, Alex.
Yeah, and actually that FaZe game was where we really saw Navi sweat. Let's not forget, they hadn't had too much time with Perfecto, and so expectations were still blurry. But seeing them play this game against FaZe Clan was a really, really big indicator of what they were going to be capable of throughout their event.
Brokey and Nico. This time both with rifles.
Nico, he's full flash. He stands up at the bot. The molly, it's on top of him. Perfect molly from Electronic. Brokey and Nico did well to get the necessary frags. They've made it level. But this is an afterplan that favors Navi. Olof, AWP, does have a smoke and a flash. In fact, plenty of utility.
Simple to defend B. You know he's going to have a couple of kills, but the flashbang's decent. Rain now knows he's there, but Simple jumps up. Oh, he's bringing it back. Electronic and Simple! They managed to save it. It's a 3 versus 1. The AWP on the retake. I don't think he has what it takes. Navi eliminate FaZe from the tournament, and they're going to the Spodek.
Electronic did it all. His molly was doing damage. His flash gets them a kill on Banana. He's getting the shots as well. Everything he chose to do.
Oh, that molly! I remember talking to Yanko afterwards and just like, don't bring up that Molotov. Let's not talk about that Molotov. Electronic had genuinely mollied the boost in the last round of regulation.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. And I think that set Navi up to get on through into the playoffs, right? But FaZe, they did a valiant effort, and they actually had a pretty decent start to the year. One of the matches that FaZe Clan needed just to get to that lower bracket final was beating a Vitality with ZywOo on form, right? We just were mentioning earlier how in 2019, it was a battle of Simple and ZywOo, who the best player in the world was. ZywOo came out on top, and he carried that form through. In a series they lost, Alex, remember this was with Alex, the in-game leader. He managed 72 frags, 47 deaths. Look at this on screen right here.
Okay, so that is quite the statistic. I mean, this is the man that was born on the day Counter-Strike 1.0 was released. And I mean, yeah, this was one of his big, high-impact performances to start off the year. And just to remind us that the competition against Simple, my God, would have been... I don't remember this round. This is crazy.
Signature moments from ZywOo, huh?
I mean, it's endless.
27 kills.
Yeah, and
this is the thing.
Don't forget
Jeez,
that was
mate.
rookie. In his rookie year, like, I mean, he was already given by the AAA, whatever you'd call it, clan team, that 100K buyout. Like, you know, for a rookie to have such a price tag applied to him straight out of the gate, people could see what was coming with ZywOo, and he certainly did manage to put up a valiant effort. Still not enough to pick up the W, though.
Yeah, and not enough to get them into the playoffs, and that's where we're heading next, Alex.
The quietest it ever gets in Spodek, when it's, you know, on competition days when it's full, is that whispered hush of thousands of people. But some of the games were played in real silence, and it was a very, very odd experience.
If you want to know what you're good at, and, well, also what you suck at, check out csgohub.com. Coming!
For now, watch the event on Twitch, watch it online. Spodek's closed.
Welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters 2020 Katowice Grand Finals. It's time to see the two teams still standing tear each other apart for the first ESL Pro Tour Masters Championship.
Navi has never won an IM Katowice. Simple has never won an IM Katowice. Today, they take that stage to change that fact.
Nexa turning, he needs 2 more headshots. There's the one, the follow-up, and he gets it! A great triple here for the captain of G2. Will buy them a 9th round.
Unlike anything the Spodek has seen before. What a beautiful story of young talent from the CIS region finally finding the right home in Navi.
Yeah, if you've bought tickets to Katowice, if you were hoping to see a wonderful If you're hoping to see a wonderful event, had a great time at Spodek, especially for the first time, then all I can do is apologize. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that, you know, we do our best for you. But for now, please watch the event on Twitch, watch it online. Spodek's closed.
The real first whispers that something could happen with the event, we've got it probably 1 week before the event, maybe 10 days, and they were just whispers. We knew in the days leading up to the event that there were all sorts of meetings happening at city level, and every single time we were getting an unofficial green light. You shouldn't worry, everything should be okay. When the news hit, it was expected to some degree, but it was a major shock to everybody. It was an eerie silence when we found out. When we found out, we were shell-shocked. It was really a very odd experience, because you would think you'd be angry, you'd think you'd be upset, you'd think you'd be sad, but no, it just felt nothing. It just felt like nothing. The quietest it ever gets in Spodek, when it's, you know, on competition days, when it's full, is that whispered hush of thousands of people. But some of the games were played in real silence, and it was a very odd experience. It took us a full 24 hours to probably shake it off and refocus on what we needed to do, which was to reach out to all the people that traveled to the event and make sure that they were aware that we think of them, and that they were aware that we want to do something for them, even though we can't let them inside. None of them were angry with us. None of them were resentful. None of them seemed pissed off. All of them positive, all of them. I genuinely think most of them went home with completely different memories that they thought they would make, but good memories nonetheless, and ultimately that's a good thing.
Katowice, I remember that very well, Chad. We were all there, all just hyped to get the Counter-Strike year started, and those whispers Carmack's talking about, I know it from our perspective in the green room, it was like, they wouldn't cancel it though, would they? Like, I don't know about you, but for me, it felt like it was just this kind of, it seems too crazy to not have that Spodek, considering we were all, you know, on tender hooks for the week.
Yeah, I think, you know, Carmack talking about the silence there and not, you know, feeling angry or not feeling sad or anything. It's like such a weird feeling because you can't fight it. There's nothing that we could do. It was one of those situations where you sit there and you think about all the hard work that everybody put into this and how the players and everybody's, you know, coming to like the summit of one of the greatest events we have in Counter-Strike history. And we couldn't have the event, right, in the capacity that we all want to. And it felt I don't want to say it felt like it was taken from us, you know, but it felt like I don't even have words for it, mate. But look, how did you find out?
We all do love exactly what we're watching right now. Counter-Strike, it's what brought us all here. But for the time being, I've been tasked with something very, very special and I guess very interesting in a lot of ways. I've prepared this, so I'll just read from the card if you wouldn't mind. The Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2020 will drive on, and we will complete this Masters Championship. However, I regret to inform you, the viewer at home, that the public or in-arena audience, that has been canceled. That, for the time being, until further notice, has been canceled.
Yeah, I basically just had to throw to that video and me and Henry just making this kind of weird alarmed eye contact as our producer says, yeah, throw to Trace at the half. And we're like, that doesn't sound good. That's never good news when you're throwing to a unpredictable segment or one that wasn't foreseen. So that was how I found out. And I think, yeah, we just kind of all processed that information together.
Yeah, it was really weird, man. Like I was on that couch. The video we saw a little bit earlier where Carmack's there and Trace is sitting next to him. And like I consider myself to be a big tough guy, you know how it is. But like even me, I'm like trying to hold back tears and stuff right now, thinking of that moment because I went out there when I wasn't working on each game to just see the players playing in that environment because the spot deck was empty. You could hear their cheers after they win a round echo through the spot deck arena. And like I've been in there empty before because I'm waiting for the crowd to come in. But when I go in this time and I'm sitting there in the front row, just looking at the trophy, looking at the stage, looking at everything, I'm going like it heartbreaking, I think, is probably the only word to summarize that.
Yeah, I think what deterred me is like realizing that the best part, the playoffs of Katowice, the part that everyone enjoys, you know, like the group stages, like we kind of just put up with it, right, Chad? It's like we're in the basketball temporary nonsense, but we know the playoffs is where you get that feeling. You know, my first Katowice was in 2015, and in 2020, I'm still chasing that Spodek crowd, noise, atmosphere, everything. And I think it was just everyone realizing, oh, that thing that you've been doing at the start of your years for 5 years isn't happening this time. And then you throw on top of it the, you know, as Carmack hinted at, all of the fans that traveled, I couldn't help but feel like disappointed for them. Just like knowing, like there was a dude that posted that picture of literally like, I think it was a tattoo, CSGO tattoo, and he's like traveled from America or something. I haven't got the complete details, but this dude had traveled, you know, first Katowice, I can't wait. Yeah. And then, you know, something completely out of everyone's hands denied that for a lot of people. I think that really, and it wasn't just the fans. It wasn't just the fans. In fact, the players as well, members of Fnatic gave us their insight as to how processing that information, hearing that information felt.
So walking into the Spodek Arena when the crowd was there, it was a very magical moment. Like you'd feel the roar of the fans, and then walking into an empty Spodek Arena was very different and a sad moment when it was empty. You couldn't feed off the energy as well as you did before. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, what more can you say? You do just have to play. You've got to deal with the circumstances or the cards dealt your way. And I mean, what better way to start this Katowice playoffs than we're talking about a semi-final where we really got to take and dig our teeth into this Navi Astralis. Chad, by my understanding, Astralis hadn't dropped a map at this point.
Yeah, that's right. Through the group stage, absolutely flawless 2-0s all the way. And then they make it straight into the semis where Navi have to battle to get to them, right? Now, Navi coming into this, we already spoken about Perfecto, the Guardian, that all kind of roster change. They just handed Astralis their absolute worst loss ever. They spanked them, Alex, 16-5, 16-5. They dismantled the Danes, and it was an absolute monstrous showing from Simp. We had a 1.79 rating, but everybody on the team had a huge rating.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And let's not forget that this wasn't too far from the integration of Perfecto. You know, we're seeing them find form with the new players. And they were doing it in such dominant fashion. My goodness. I mean, no crowd. You'd think that maybe that'd be a problem. Clearly wasn't a problem. Yeah. Oh yeah, you got the 5K kill. I forgot about this. Oh!
It's like we get a flashback of our year with this little recaptured show. But yeah, when you look at the way that Astralis were dealt their first map loss, and I would say their first loss in general in the Katowice tournament, you thought to yourself, this version of Navi could be the best team in the world going forward. Like I think on the desk, I made some ridiculous statement like saying this is the new world order for Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The fact that they've made G2 look so foolish, and even having Boomich and Perfecto stepping up, it was just a perfect springboard to kick off their campaign of 2020. It was a dominant performance over G2. It was a dominant performance over Astralis, and they didn't stop on the first two maps. It was a best of 5, but I mean, it's just another one for the list of disappointing best of 5 finals, or at least disappointing, certainly not for Navi, but for the fans. They still tuned in en masse for this bad boy, but it did look like short work for Navi.
Yeah, it was a best of 5 final, right? And this is some of the things that we need to remember here is that G2, they were kind of a new roster as well. It was Malmo in the previous year is when they made that change from being an all-French squad to bringing in some import, the likes of Nexa and Hunter coming in. And G2, unfortunately for them, they had a fantastic run in this event, but they were just outclassed. And that is the story of Navi within the playoffs. They got better and better. They were able to, I want to say, slowly warm into things. But when they got hot, this team was so hot, red hot. I don't think anybody could have touched them.
No, the Katowice that we saw, or rather the Navi we saw at Katowice, is the one that we've been chasing ever since. The rest of the year, we see glimmers of it. But when they hit that stride, this is the reason. This result was one of the many reasons we sat there saying, when they're on form, no one can touch them. They made G2, though it was, a tough game for them, they made them look foolish, and that's some of the world's best on the other side of the stage. Albeit an empty Spodek, they got to lift the trophy all the same, and it was a big win to start off 2020 for Navi.
2011, last time the Navi's name was scribbled on to that trophy. What were you doing back then, back in 2011?
2011, I think I was 14. I was start to play CES to grind for this trophy because this trophy is insane. It's not like ESL One Cologne trophy or something like this. Intel Extreme Masters, and it's insane for me.
Oh man, absolutely insane. And it broke, I think it set rather, the viewership record for a non-major. Over 1 million people tuned in to see Simple pick up that trophy and add it to his cabinet. And I mean, an elusive trophy. He gets himself the IEM trophy in the cabinet, and Katowice no less. It was certainly something to be celebrated. And of course, that marks not only the trophy being lifted, but the curtains being drawn on the offline era, and we prepare to venture online.
Dropping Flamey, continuing to fight. It's a pretty good return there for Electronic, which is a CC arrangement. Oh! Coming through is Simple with a headshot on Emanek. He's throwing it right on top of Electronic. Yeah, need to back on out, don't take any damage. Simple, we'll find another kill next. I think there was 3 people shooting at that moment. He even gets the headshot on Jax. And Kenny, 1 versus 3, 40 seconds. It's going to be almost impossible. And Simple will find the quad kill here. Low on health since the first fight.
The aggressive way that Navi kind of tried to get that position back, right? They threw a couple players at it in CT spawn. I don't think G2 was expecting that kind of presence from the defense that early. And obviously Simple with a stellar round, starting with the Deagle headshot.
4 Kriegs pulled out by the Astralis squad. This is the weapon that has changed the tide of UT's side, but Flamey, ridiculous! Ace! 5 kills, 5 seconds, and it's the 4th on the board for Navi.
No one's ever really tried to do it. It could be interesting. Nice sniper weight. That's some amazing accuracy. That's wonderful. Look at the master at work here. M4 tapping away. Quick quad kill.
Just Perfecto and Simple. He needs a multi-kill. First found. Twist aggressing. They have to double peek. He's getting his shot. He's hitting another one. Simple. No, Simple. That's unbelievable. One in his name. Number 1 in the game. He's done it again.
You better start calling him Sasha the Smasher. This is unbelievable.
Just did a flash peek. They smoked off mid. They went and took control, got the information. Yusuchi JW rotating over. He's going to get there quick. He has 1 flashbang he can use from afar to help out. Surely, yeah, Flush is going to get that one. Burning is the rest of 100 Thieves, and he's got 2. The entries are denied.
Flusher and Prim's already in construction. This is an incredible boost up. He almost falls into the off satisfaction, barely staying alive, but just another second. JKS and Azza. JKS has got a good lineup with the AK-47. He sees just the top of the face, but Flusher will win that fight. A quad kill now, and he's going to get the ace early on in this quarterfinals. Flusher has come alive.
The world is in a bit of a weird place, but Counter-Strike is where it belongs. It's on your screens and it continues here. It's not possible. Clave will win it 16-2. Hello, hello. Victorious Peter.
What a desk it is, my friends. We have gone all out for this iconic event.
Get ready for a Cadian pop-off, because he's done it. He closes and leads his team to yet another win.
They rushed the site. They tried to deny the ball on, but it's a disaster. Furia, take it. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo! And so the siren sounds, alarm bells ring, and we've got 3 days to move online. There's teams already in Malta. There's teams already there. Like, Pro League's supposed to happen. The world continues to shut down. I don't know why I'm saying this with a smile on my face. I don't know why. But yes, Season 11 of Pro League is sentenced to online jail. And
I think, look, I think you're smiling, Alex, because it's a comedy of bloody errors, mate. Like in the sense of what had happened in such a short period of time, I don't think anybody could have predicted what was going to change, right? We were all excited. We're bringing Pro League together. It's all of the teams from all around the world. This is the first time we actually have a proper league. We're not regionalized anymore. Everything was going to be awesome. Like, we can speak quite intimately to a lot of what's going on, right? Joe's trying to fly me out of Malta early because things are all going bonkers. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. The world like turned upside down in such a short period of time. It was scary.
I mean, everyone's aware of it and experienced it differently, but for us, it was this case of like just, you know, different countries making decisions. And as they are hitting the news, you know, apprehension is rising for this 24-team global 24-team banger. That was like supposed to be, you know, our resuscitation, but we made the most of the cards we were dealt. I felt. I mean, we got kicked out of how many hotels, Chad? 4,
too
5?
many. Harry changed room 8 days in a row, if that gives people context of just how much things were changing around here in Germany.
Yeah, so, you know, ESL hits the panic button. We get EU Pro League with the Goonies and ourselves, the trio, myself, Chad, and Hank, and we are in this weird, crazy mansion in Germany for 6 months of our lives. European playoffs go down. The brackets are on your screens. You can see that Fnatic, in a full best of 5, continue to, you know, be on the upswing. This is looking good for them as they do break into 2020 with a win of Pro League. Mouse in second, Astralis taking third, and Navi in fourth.
Yeah, one of the notes there, obviously, Fnatic still playing cheeky Counter-Strike. But if we look at the North American bracket here, it was the fact that we get Team Liquid versus EG and in that 3-0 fashion. Now, when you look at this, guys, that's a matchup you'd be very familiar with. Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses going toe-to-toe quite often. So that is the expected final. And I think that, Alex, is maybe not the expected result, because I think EG was starting to claw back a little bit against Liquid. But regardless, it was the final everybody wanted.
No, it certainly was. And actually going into the playoffs, EG did lose their coach. Perhaps that has something to do with it. Yeah, I mean, he was known to be more of an analyst than he was a coach. You can see he actually puts his time with EG and the statistics there. 4 first-place finishes, 2 second-place finishes, and a whole lot of third, fourth. So that kind of does help you summarize his time with EG. He's done it for us nice and neatly there in the tweet. But Liquid did take it at ESL Pro League Season 11. So this was kind of already starting to be the budding North American rivalry of who is going to truly be a contender in European soil when and if we get back there.
Elise needs to check close, and he will. Only a dink out for Cirque. It's not going to be enough. It might just be done.
Yeah, what a statement from Liquid if they're able to get it over the line, and it certainly looks like it. Stanislaw is the last man remaining. All that stands between Liquid and winning this season of the Pro League. Team Liquid, they get the best of 5 done in 2 as they take this one. Team Liquid, your champions for the ESL Pro League Season 11 in NA.
Look at the confetti.
I know, man. I mean, like, I just remember us being like, so how are we doing the trophy moment? And the conversation.
You did the trophy lift for Fnatic.
That's right. I got to lift the trophy, technically. You guys commentated it like I was winning a clutch in real life. It was lit, but it was, yeah, it is, you know, that's not what it's supposed to be. And it kind of felt like, you know, I mean, we were kind of making the best of a bad situation, sure, but I didn't want it to be a mockery as the confetti falls in our studio and it's just 3 dudes. It's like such a, you know, that what we watched Navi, Katowice, even without the crowd, you know, just seeing the spectacle and then seeing what season 11 looked like. It was like a sign of things to come.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like you mentioned it well before, everybody will remember these months quite vividly of what changed for them in their everyday lives, right? And for us, you touched on a few of the things, but it honestly, we could have turned it into a reality TV show here, right? Because there was 6 of us getting kicked out of hotels, displaced, the hotels are closing down, we're having to find somewhere to live, we're in this house now, we're drawing rooms, like by drawing straws, like we honestly did that. And then we have 6 of us guys who all just love to play Counter-Strike in a house living together. It was like the odd couple.
With an ESL tournament setup, by the way. They got the because obviously the event crew didn't have anything to do. So ESL just said, hey, event guys, go and make this house a LAN center. And we showed up. They had like a copious amounts of assorted fruits and spirits and a ridiculous amount of just gaming, 240 hertz, tournament grade PCs. So for a while, you know, the novelty of it definitely kept us entertained. A lot of in-house LANs. Chad, we can safely raise our hands as the victors of those. But yes. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think that fun, of course, was us truly trying to find a way to keep our sanity during some of that more extended quarantine in our quasi Airbnb. But let's focus back on the Counter-Strike. That's what this show is all about. And actually, we reached out to Jason Lake to hear his thoughts on CSGO's persistence and its growth in spite of online Counter-Strike's transition.
You know, 2020 obviously hasn't turned out like anyone in the world anticipated it would. And for complexity in our Counter-Strike team, it's definitely been challenging. You know, we built a headquarters in Dallas, Texas, primarily around the needs of a Counter-Strike team, and then recruited great players to come train at our facility. Never in our wildest dreams did we think we would be playing mostly from home in Europe and separated. You know, our team was built to be a LAN juggernaut, right? And to have our players separated and playing completely online has been disappointing. It's been frustrating. I think it's hampered the growth of our team in different ways. But we've managed to soldier through a lot of you know, difficulties. Owen, obviously, Obo needed to return back to America, which was understandable. We were lucky enough to be able to bring in JKS, but it's been a challenging year. It's been a frustrating year, if I'm being honest, but I'm really grateful that at least we could have competition. At least we could continue to play matches where other sports were completely offline. Online play enabled us to be able to compete, to be able to provide entertaining content to our fans and to the community. So there's always a cup half full or a cup, you know, half empty way of looking at things. And it's been a frustrating year, but we prefer to look at it cup half full, and we're going to keep battling on as further challenges present themselves. You know, people ask me, what is the difference between being like #1 in the online era of 2020 versus #1 in previous years? And you know, I think online is always going to have an asterisk. I think teams can only compete to the best of their abilities given whatever circumstances surround them. So I definitely would not take away from teams that have done very well in the online era because they're overcoming different types of adversities. But as the coaching bug and the stream sniping controversies have taught us, there is nothing like LAN. So is doing well in an online era tantamount to doing well on the big stages of esports when we play LANs? Probably not. But hat tip to the teams that have been able to make the most of a difficult year and climb into the top 10. It's a different kind of challenge. It's a different kind of struggle. But there's nothing quite like, you know, getting back to LAN. And as we approach the Global Challenge event, we're really grateful to be a part of it. We're going to give our very best. The team is still in the process of figuring things out and overcoming challenges as they present themselves to us. But we're just honored to be playing in Europe with the greatest teams in the world. And, you know, one thing I try to teach our players in our organization is about perseverance. Life is always going to throw hardballs at you. There's going to be storms. You're going to walk through the fire. How you deal with those things is what determines your character and the wisdom that you acquire along the way. So, you know, winning this event would mean the world to us, but if we don't, we're going to gear up and get ready for 2021 and keep fighting and keep clawing, like I used to like to say, and keep battling, because that's what complexity is about. That's what the Counter-Strike ecosystem is about. And we surely and certainly appreciate all the fans that have made Counter-Strike what it is, one of the greatest esports to ever exist. God bless you and your families. Jay Lake out.
You've been on the movie dives, haven't you?
Do you remember that one, though, where the scarabs are all under their skin? I freaked out.
Freaked me out for a long time.
11-year-old me, very much.
Yep, the mummy freaked out. Multitudes of
Here
things.
we go.
Hold on.
Watch this, watch
Poison's
this.
kind of in a bit of a flow here. You can see it happening, and now the 1v1 device is... Oh! He doesn't have his life!
I knew it! Poison is a gangster. He holds his orb sideways, swings open the door, and opens up a third. They needed that. Thank you, Poison.
Someone's going to hit the shot, and they do. Response from Shox. Time is low. He's got a second. The models are burning, and Shox is sending him a light. 4 kills for Shox. And Vitality, they're going to convert the post plant.
Au revoir. See you later.
Oh,
Shox
my.
landing the shots. Good grief, what a round from the man.
He needs a multi-kill. First found. Twist aggressing. They have to double peek. He's getting his shot. He's hitting another one. Simple. No, Simple. That's unbelievable. What in his name? Number 1 in the game. He's done it again.
Simple.
Look at
down
this.
one.
This is so deliberate.
And now he's going to try and play around this as they push into the site. They're continuing. They're actually taking the site.
His own smoke to play around, and it's worked. He isolates the jump up. Now he can peek into Navira. This is a shooting gallery for Simple. It's practically deathmatch. A battle of the world's greatest. Or is it just the greatest? Simple with 5.
30 seconds. Low HP, has the bomb, but no idea as to where the remaining CTs are. Flicking up into the header device. He has enough time to feasibly clutch this. And Tag is the last line of defense on A. He'll be playing this one a little bit more passively, a little bit more patiently. Hell, just give this fight away to ZywOo. Wait for the cavalry to arrive. Make sure you double peek him. Simultaneously, ZywOo so nearly lands the no-scope, but on 1 HP, he's still alive. He's still here. He's still kicking. And you cannot disrespect this man because he will punish you. Storm ZywOo comes in and leaves nothing but carnage in his wake.
Now, I think, Alex, the question on everybody's lips here is not how good are ZywOo and Simple. It's what movie were you and Lauren talking about? I forgot.
There was the Scarab Lord or whatever. It's like one of the mummy, like the original mummy. You know, where it's like Scarab, Dwayne Johnson, but like CGI and a scorpion.
OJ Borge in it.
OJ's in it, yeah, and all the workers.
okay.
The Scarab, that was what I was talking about. And then Poison decided to just do something ridiculous. Oh, and of course, someone's going to be like, damn, Caster's not talking about the game in a 12-1. Anyway, I've kind of got that out of the system.
You needed to get it out. And that scoreline, we're never expecting a retake, especially on Vertigo B bomb site, Alex. How hard is it to retake that bomb site, let alone with an AWP?
Yeah, fair play, fair play. We have been seeing a bit of a move, and actually, perfect timing. A transition in Vertigo happens about now here in our calendar. Vertigo changes are made, and the major is rescheduled. 2 bombs drop simultaneously, one slightly more important than the other, but that construction-y area is added to Vertigo, and I do think that that's the best mid has felt on the map. I don't know about you, but I do feel like
mid-rushes still work, so I like that. We still get to get away with that in matchmaking, but definitely so, right? I think this is one of the things quickly, if we're being serious for a moment with Vertigo, this new change, it has definitely opened the map up. It's no longer just hit that A bomb site. Teams are now actually starting to use mid and B a lot more. The map is really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I also hit that other nail. I want to hit it harder now. That was Valve announced the major being rescheduled. And this was kind of, you know, I think a lot of people, logically driven people that were keeping up with world news saw something like this coming, but this was the, you know, the official confirmation. Today, we are outlining how teams will qualify for the November Rio major. And basically, that was also the announcement of our good old-fashioned RMR.
Yeah, and with those RMR events, right, guys, that's how we were going to determine the teams during this region lock period. So we needed to retool very quickly. Nobody knew at the time, right, how long COVID was going to run on for here. But the fact that they're able to piece this together, we had the Road to Rio, we had CS Summit 6, we had DreamHack Open Fall is the most recent one throughout this year. Those events, they all just carried on. And I guess we do have to kick it off with Road to Rio, right, because that's where we were. We just kicked off from Pro League. We finished that off and we went straight into this event. We themed the studio. We had bloody tourists, but we thought it was all going to happen, Alex. So we thought we were going to Brazil.
He started ordering inflatable snakes and a wild manner of different gadgets and gizmos. I think he realized it was the only thing to keep you entertained as we were about to be in the studio for another stint.
Yeah, one of the problems though, man, is the fact that we look at the teams right here and take a look. This is all the winners of each of the RMR region locked events, right? Europe, Australia, sure. You've got over in Asia, you're probably expecting a Tyloo, but Tiger, get it? Yeah, whatever. Down in South America, always a mixed bag. Oceania, Renegades dominated for the year, but CIS, Navi not winning this, and North America, Genji with first place. Furia, we mentioned them earlier, they bombed out, not even making it to Katowice. They came second. Liquid was the only notable team, and they came in at fourth. So questions started to float around was, you know, these RMR events, a team's going to be giving this their 110% because it is for the major, right?
Certainly, and what this was where as well, I think the first seeds of doubt are sown for Liquid. You know, we've just seen them beat EG convincingly, and then we see them in a fourth place bomb out. C9, you know, the plucky underdogs that could from South Africa, and of course North America, and then of course from South America is Furia in second. So I think, you know, this is where Furia are definitely catching people's eye. Liquid people are starting to wonder whether or not they've lost their flair in the online era, and this is quite early on in the whole process. So I think for me, this was also just exciting times for Furia fans as they start doing damage on the domestic scene.
Yeah, but there's a bit of drama, right? And there's been a lot of drama. We're going to touch on a lot more drama, but this is kind of where the first, under the microscope came here, because there was some issues coming up with a conflict of interest between some teams. And I believe there was 7 teams in total. You can see here the statement from ESL. And then Valve had to come on in and kind of let the world know, this ain't happening. We need to investigate this. We need to see where these conflicts of interest lie. Now, obviously, there was one with MIBR to do with some of their players with Gaming. I think Cold Zero and Dead are just a few of the names that were involved in that one there. I think Zeus from EG was also in the mix. But yeah, they weren't alone. There was a couple of other teams with some interesting little ties, but Valve quickly dealt with that.
Yeah, and tensions continue to rise as well. Around the same time, FunPlus Phoenix temporarily acquires Danish heroic roster to join CSGO, and that was supposed to go through. However, Astralis upgrade to a 6-man roster and snipe Tag before that can be fully finalized. Not only does that screw Flashpoint in a way, their inaugural season, they have to field a new roster in Bad News Bears, but not only that, we then do once again start paving a new way for the 6-man roster. You know, Tag joining Astralis, it's starting to become a thing and a conversation we continue a little later on. The shuffle and everything around it did lead to the CSPPA ceasing their player agency services, as that was calling into question its own conflict of interest. And we go on to see this be a bigger conversation that continues later into the year. But the heat is definitely starting. Not only the online era, but now the summer heat is here.
My name is Jordan Gilbert, aka Nothing.
Hi, my name is Sue Lee. My handle is Smix. I think it's important for these initiatives to happen. Empathy really, really goes a long way, and it always means so much to us, and I think that's where initiatives like this really help.
I encourage everyone in the community, anytime they see bullying, anytime they see someone getting called names, I encourage you to step up and say something.
Good luck, have fun.
Good luck, have fun.
We were caught in the fire. Our faith was left out in the open. Saw the fear in your eyes as we move through the dust. Nights turn into days, wanna buy and but our spirits never die. spirits never die. Whoa. Fading as we push through the darkest times. I'll be there by your side. We rise. Everything's breaking. Our souls will awaken. Our spirits never die.
The world is in a bit of a weird place, but Counter-Strike is where it belongs. It's on your screens and it continues here. It's not possible. Clay will win it 16-2. Hello, hello. Victorious Peter.
What a desk it is, my friends. We have gone all out for this iconic event.
Get ready for a Cadian pop-off, because he's done it. He closes and leads his team to yet another win.
They rushed the site. They tried to deny the ball one, but it's a disaster. Furia take it. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo! Now, before we finish this segment, there is something I have to say. In fact, it was a request from a member of the community known as Night Not Day. Now, we have a power, Chad.
Yep.
That we're not really...
We didn't choose this power.
We didn't fully understand it. It's power. With great power comes great responsibility. So I think I can speak for everyone here when I state that we're definitely not getting an update, right?
There is no chance we will get a CSGO update anytime soon.
And it's 100% not the big day on Tuesday. 100% not the big day on Tuesday.
100%. No updates. If you're a Counter-Strike fan and you were hoping new content before Christmas,
sorry, guys.
you wanted to enjoy your holidays.
Not happening.
It's not happening,
It's just not happening.
We're very sorry.
Yeah, so we're all going to hang our heads and we're going to throw it back.
Yeah, I mean, there was an update. Turns out we were peddling misinformation as we always do, Chad.
We're good at that. That's one of our biggest skills right there. But the fact that this has actually come out, that Valve have dropped this, there was so much hype and anticipation around a new operation and updates to the game. And I think it delivered, right? A bunch of new maps, a bunch of new game modes. We got the new models in there. There's one of them doing a Semler cosplay. There's another one with a bloody condom on his head. There's retake servers in there now. This new update that they've done, look, we were already hitting 1 million concurrent players. Now, with this, I can only imagine how we're going to go leading into Christmas. Valve really hooked us up.
Yeah, certainly. This is the update everyone's been waiting for. It's been a long time coming, but there were some other updates earlier in the year that I want to pivot to, and it's actually kind of an important one. It's easy to forget it happened, but you know that visibility update, especially for our old man eyes, you know, like it actually has made a lot of the Counter-Strike frustrations significantly less, or less prominent for me at least. Player contrast, it's pretty damn subtle, to be fair.
I think when you're in game and if you play on like native res and you're noticing some of the newer models as well in the game, you'll see that there's a lot of places now where these players, it almost feels like they have a bit of, I want to say like a halo behind them. So it's helping with the visibility, because that was one of the problems, one of the issues that we thought may really carry on forward. But we also had some other changes, right? We had the Org and the Krieg kind of popping off back in 2019. The Org got nerfed. It's kind of still being used a little bit now, but now the Krieg nerf, and this happened back in, what was it, April, right? And look, sure, having a bit of diversity in terms of the guns and seeing a little bit of a change up in terms of the primary weapons was fine, but it just felt like these guns were so overpowered, it made the, I want to say, skill ceiling a little bit lower.
Yeah, I mean, the time to kill was so fast, and you had that scope. It felt like it completely, like, it skewed a lot of the things we expected. You know, our expectations of Counter-Strike started to switch. I mean, we saw Nuke's T-sides start to see 9-10 rounds posted by default. you know, yard fights felt different. It really did kind of, I don't know, it did take a bit of the shine off of some of the big plays we were seeing during that period.
Yeah, Orpa's had a rough time against the Krieg, right? You have to consider just that leveling playing. Look, Jake has the back of the site, scoped in, holding down mouse one. It's just one of these situations that, look, that was the era. That was the Krieg era. Before that, we had the Org era. These things, we had the CZ OP for a while. We even had the Revolver for a couple of days looking bonkers, right? This is just some of the stuff that happens in Counter-Strike. And I'm glad that we're back to the predominant AK-47 and M4, but the Org's still getting some play. And I see Crims a couple of times buying a cheeky little Krieg, Alex. So maybe it might get some more play.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, I think the Krieg is going to make a comeback. Sleeper at the moment, but even the AUG is still getting some action as well. But the scope rifles have certainly been put in place by Valve, and that happens in about April. We also see trusted mode for those that care, and a bunch of roster changes, as well as a whole lot of squawking. And one last change that came in were the software restrictions added by Valve to combat cheating. It may have made streaming the game a bit of a nightmare, but this was Valve, you know, it's taking another step towards this endless battle they're fighting against the cheating community.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Valve put up a wall. People are always going to try and climb over it. And I feel that this is going to be a never-ending battle, but this was just one of the steps that they took, right? And whether or not it's working to everybody's, I want to say pleasure, it's probably not. I'm sure there's still a bunch of cheaters out there and your matchmaking games are being ruined. That sucks. But these are the steps that they're taking. And we obviously had a lot of drama, right? That little video kind of encapsulates some of the nonsense, because you watch that, you go, what the hell are they throwing in the show right here? Well, that's exactly what's happened this year in terms of Counter-Strike. The Australian match fixing scandal that went down, right? This is one where, look, if you haven't worked it out, guys, I'm Australian. So to hear that players from my country back home have been, you know, betting on their own games or betting on other games or throwing games or doing anything like that, that one really it stings, you know?
I mean, yeah, especially considering, you know, the history Counter-Strike has with match fixing. I thought, you know, the statement made by Valve was going to echo through the community for a long time, and it was strange to see that back and in such a big way. So that was 5 Australian players actually with criminal charges laid against them for that match fixing that went down in Counter-Strike. So I can't believe that. Yeah, actually, it feels weird to come out of my mouth, but yeah, that happened this year.
The next one, Alex, this next one that we're going to dive into to do with MIBR and Furia, this one really, really upset me, man. Like, you can see Fur here, a legend of the game, someone who's won multiple majors, tweeting that to his hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers who we know that the Brazilian fan base are very passionate. This is basically, if you guys missed this, it was a match within Blast. It was MIBR versus Furia, obviously the two best teams from the region going toe-to-toe. And there was a little bit of a lag issue that went down. And my understanding of this story was that Furia said, hey, look, we'll let our coach deal with this situation in the server. And the MIBR players took this as something that was disrespectful, that they said, no, we want to let the officials deal with it. Now, look, I'm the kind of guy, you play until the whistle, right? Furia have no idea what's going on. Fallen's now tweeted out what happened to his huge fan base as well. And with this all going on, it's basically caused a shitstorm in the middle of a match where all the Brazilian fan bases are just getting stuck into each other, man. And this one really did upset me.
Yeah, I mean, you can see what Launders has said, and I think his take kind of, you know, summarizes why Chad is kind of affected by this, is that, yeah, Furia playing their game. They're playing against their idols, bear in mind, from the region, and they see NL in the chat after they found their first frag. From their perspective, I don't know. It just it reeks, and it was a shame to see. And unfortunately, the news doesn't stop there. In fact, this next topic actually really hit me hard. I rarely throw my take into the ring, but I did when I saw this one going down, which was of course Chaos's Leaf, this 16-year-old North American prodigy, and he plays a good game. I'd say a good game. against MIBR. You'll see how he turns away from the flashbang, which apparently was a lock-on. And he proceeds to have his demo analyzed mid-match, if I'm not mistaken, Chad.
Yeah, this is the thing as well, right? I mentioned it once, I mentioned it again. We know how huge this Brazilian fan base is, and these guys now, these kids, Zeppa, Leaf, they get put on blast, and the social media, Twitter, it's a horrible place, guys. I've been there. I've experienced the worst of it, and these guys had to experience it, the worst of it, off of some people who should know better, right? MIBR should know better. In the past, these guys have had their own problems, right? And you can see it right here. This is fallen out there with the tweets to do with the whole situation, and it's kind of just pointing. It's not a gun at the Chaos guys, but it's definitely leading in that direction where you know what's going to happen. You know the reaction is going to follow. We need to be more responsible with our social media, right? I found the uploaded clip suspicious. Yes. How can what are we doing here, man? Like, we've seen this over the years, players getting accused of cheating. I remember back in the day, right? There was ZywOo who got accused of cheating back in like 2013 times, right? So this stuff, we can't be doing it. We should know better in 2020.
And a really interesting take, speaking of ZywOo, was Rops, right? Like, I remember on his come up, he actually did experience a lot of doubt. In fact, here's his tweet. This is his take. I lost hope and didn't want to play when I was under the same fire. There's literally nothing you can do. You feel helpless. And I think he closes by saying, anyone that thinks, wow, a pro claims you're cheating, you must feel amazing. Shut your dumb mouth. So that's Rops giving it to you candidly. And you speak of ZywOo, actually, he responded to Rops after he did levy some unfair criticism towards Rops on his come up. He's developed and grown and acknowledged that since then. But yeah, I think the way you summarized it, Chad, the idea of just having an understanding of the power of social media, I think a lot of our players are steps behind there. Certainly, we got a very prime example of that. Because I just hate the idea of someone so passionate about Counter-Strike that they've got to the point where they're like competing and they're playing against names that they've only dreamed of, and they're playing so well that people think it's a little suspicious. Is it suspicious because of how I'm playing, or is it just because you don't know me and you consider yourself, omnipotent and godlike, and it's impossible that 16-year-old from America could be succeeding? I don't know. Weird. And that was where are we in the year? We're not even halfway through.
It's crazy, man. It's absolutely insane. But we actually had Stunner, who had a bit of a word with Leaf, and here's the chat now.
Hey, look, man, I'm just going to go ahead and clear the air here, and I just want to get something from your perspective. Obviously, there was this whole, I don't want to say accusation, but there was a lot of stuff thrown your way. You've put up with a lot of things in what's been a pretty short, pro career up to this point. Has that, motivated you? Has that pushed you forward and propelled you to do even better?
I mean, definitely. These people are all watching me. They're looking to see if I do fishy stuff, even if it's not fishy to anybody except for them. Which is just funny to me. But definitely motivates me to always show them kind of like a show, because they're always going to be looking out.
Yeah, and you're definitely giving a show. There's a lot of things you're doing right, man. You're hitting some insane shots. You're finding that stride, and I guess for you, was that something that they troubled you?
The accusations?
Yes.
Not really. They kind of bothered me for the first week, and that's why I had my Twitter privated and stuff like that, and I wasn't really saying much. But now I'm kind of over it. I mean, it's still just going to be there until lands come back, but it's whatever, Can't really do much about it. They're going to have their opinion, and it's whatever.
So along with the mental stress that goes along with everything we just talked about, so comes fatigue and burnout. And it certainly becomes a focus of and into the forefront of the conversation for the entire year. This was epitomized with multiple exits or breaks from players, even legends of the game. In fact, one that sticks out, of course, Olofmeister hanging up the mouse and keyboard. He does make his statement. And I mean, Chad, the departure of Olofmeister, it did kind of mark the start of seeing fatigue influence even the bigger names of the scene.
Yeah, it's crazy just how many of these players this year have had to either sit out for a short period of time or have taken time off permanently, right? You even remember Alex just after Katowice, the in-game leader of Vitality, he took time off because of the same situation. So to lose Olof, somebody who is revered as one of the absolute very best to do it, and his teammates here, some of these superstars, understanding that, the trials and tribulations of Counter-Strike, and when it's not going your way, that amount of stress and what it can, lead to for these individuals. That's a big reason as to why I quit playing Counter-Strike, Alex, to tell you the truth, right? Like just the immense pressure of thinking that you have to perform, and when you're not doing so, it feels unescapable, right? And there's plenty of other names to join this list, right? We had Zipex from Astralis as another one of these names here. He stepped down for a big chunk of time, and that kind of put Astralis into a bit of a weird spot.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of that was the start of Astralis really being able to flex their 6-man roster, and also putting the avoidance of Burnout into the forefront of their priorities. At least that's how it was communicated. Up for debate as to how much of that was entirely based around the avoidance of Burnout. But regardless, it definitely was eye-opening. These are the players you're like, oh, okay, I guess I won't be seeing Zipex or Olof in the server for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, like Glaive was another name that we could throw on that list. I know Nork had a little bit of time off later in the year, just like to make sure he didn't actually get burnt out. They were seeing signs of that. But a huge one here has to be Obo, right? Like Obo, this kid who, exactly that, he's a kid, right? Obo, he benched himself in Complexity because they made the decision to stay in Europe and compete on European soil, which we both thought was the right call, right, Alex?
I mean, I truly do not believe Complexity would be where they are if they hadn't been locked to the European soil. It's a byproduct of the situation because of the region locks, right? They've got to compete in the most competitive region they could, and I think that has done them a world of good. Obviously, not for Obo, and actually, I'm remiss to see him go. I really liked the progress he was making, the opportunity, the storyline of someone joining such a huge organization and handling the pressures of it, as well as living alone for the first time so far from home in the United Kingdom. I completely understand when this first big team and all of those strong personalities are showing no interest of returning back to America anytime soon. I can see how that's going to weigh heavily on someone who's living so far from home during a global pandemic. And I really hope that isn't the last time we see Obo's name in the server in the Tier 1 level.
Yeah, and I think you just touched on it before, but to do with Astralis flexing their 6-man roster, or at least experimenting with it, right? People may have missed this. Astralis had a lot of chopping and changing this year, and that reflects in their decisions in tournaments they wanted to play, right? We had all the roster changes, we had the Burnout, but Astralis, because of the issues that Glaive and Zipex were going through, and they didn't want to lose any RMR points, they decided to skip the second RMR event, which was the CS Summit event, right? And by skipping that, it was a chance for the door to be open to somebody else within the Counter-Strike world to pick it up. We know when majors are involved, Astralis are the ones who are going to be the top dogs. They'd just done it at Road to Rio. They had taken that spot. And this time with their players not in the server, they decided to give it a miss. And with that, we saw some Germans playing some decent Counter-Strike, huh?
Yeah, those guys that turned heads earlier on in the year, they showed up again and showed up in a big way. You can see the fact this was a full best-of-5 final. They actually took it 3-2 to Vitality and winning CS Summit 6 for Europe.
Note the opponent. Note the opponent they're up against here. I think that's very important. Team Vitality, you're going to hear more about them as we move forward. But this is the beginning of Big being one of the best teams in the world in 2020, right? The earlier results in the year, that was oh yeah, good and well, but this was a legit win in a best-of-5 final, and we have another team that kind of gave it to Vitality up next. Is Complexity, right? The team we were just talking about over there at Blast, with Obo still in the server before he had to step away. They pulled apart Vitality in a great final, and this one right here was just another kick in the pants for Vitality when you consider how consistent they were looking, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can see what it meant to Complexity at the time. That is also a testament to what they considered Vitality as an opponent. It was a huge win, and you could even say a big win. And it continued for Big over in our next tournament. It was the DreamHack Open, where once again, Big continued their flood of victories as they rose to the #1 spot in the world rankings.
Yeah, this one here, Alex, with Big making sure they could get to that top spot, I think at this point, I want to say the Counter-Strike world was well and truly in flux. It was all over the place, right? And I think that's indicated here by the world rankings. You got Big Clan as the #1 team in the world. Vitality, they've come in at that second slot. G2, they're always floating around as a threat. But I think we have to talk about here the fact that Astralis, with those roster woes, they dropped out of the top 10, man.
Yeah, and my hand is up, Chad. My hand is up because as we look at this August graphic, you see Heroic have broken the top 10. And that was also a big Clan versus Heroic final, I believe, for that DreamHack Open. So this is where Heroic are truly on the map. It's August, so keep track. top 10 heroic. They've managed to get there from, I think they were in the floating around the 30s at the start of the year. So big switch and a big win for Big Clan. This always happens when we talk about them.
I need your expertise though, mate. I definitely need your expertise here because I know you and Henry got into the skin game. We had this happen. Now, does this make sense? Should a skin like this sell for over $100,000?
I mean, like if I could explain this screenshot to like the elderly generation, I think it would be very interesting to try.
Okay.
Yes, those are 5,000 euro stickers. Each one
Digital
of those
stickers.
digital stickers exclusively available in a video game, attached to that virtual rifle that was removed for copyright infringement, but still in the game, therefore increasing in rarity. Sold for $100,000. I've got some info on it in front of my screen. I honestly don't know if this means anything to anyone, but yeah, $5,000 a sticker, and its float was ridiculous. 0.03. Apparently, the average is 0.09.
Wow.
That's crazy, right, Chad? Whoa.
Numbers, man. You could do a lot with $100,000. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of things I would do with $100,000 that probably isn't by a HAL.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how legendary you'd feel with it in your hands, but for some people, it's all about the flex. I learned that word this year as well. But from flexing to a Navi versus Navi showdown. These guys are legendary. It was the 1.6 boys up against the current Navi roster. And I mean, just for a bit of flavor, wasn't it? You know, it's nice to see something and to see the old names in the server as well.
Do you want to know who won, Alex? I can let you know who won. Drum roll, please. Navi.
Carpe diem, I know I got only one life. Don't wanna spend it, listen to you bitch and whine. It's a little mean, I know, well, apologies. But my New Year resolutions and my honesty. Trust me, it ain't nobody makes it. Nobody makes it. None of my business. It ain't none of your business. Nobody makes it. Nobody makes it. None of my business. It ain't none of your business. Okay, stuck on the same excuses. I think it's getting old. I ain't your therapist, I ain't your magic 8 ball. Can't really tell you anything you don't already know. No one said it was easy. Don't even bother, cause I'm in your location. I turned off my phone and my patience. I wanna help you, but you ain't even trying. You made your own bed, now you gotta fucking lie.
is in a bit of a weird place, but Counter-Strike is where it belongs. It's on your screens and it continues here. It's not possible. Clave will win it 16-2.
Hello.
Victorious Peter.
What a desk it is, my friends. We have gone all out for this iconic event.
Get ready for a Cadian pop-off, because he's done it. He closes and leads his team to yet another win.
They rushed the site. They tried to deny the ball one, but it's a disaster. Furia take it.
He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and
Oh my God, ZywOo!
Another crowd noise throwback for us to all get a little remorseful about. Yes, it was brutal. It was the announcement that Cologne would not be in the Lanxess Arena this time around. Chad, you're my number one, but why don't we check out the number ones coming into ESL One Cologne? It wasn't going to be the spectacle offline, but we were hoping it could have been. There was a little whisper that there was potential there, but you know, hearts were broken. And then we take a look at number ones coming into Cologne. I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, so we took a bit of hibernation, right? We did the road to Rio, and then everything kind of closed down for us within the Counter-Strike world. But the game kept going over those months, and that's where Big Clan were able to secure themselves that number one spot. We just touched on how they won the RMR event, obviously coming into this second half of the year, or the second season, as we like to call it, with that victory over Heroic at DreamHack Open Summer as well. So at this point, Big going into Cologne as a German team were one of the favorites, right? One of the teams considered to be running very, very deep.
Yeah, and take a look at the number one player. This one caught me off guard. Grim. This was the new addition to, of course, Team Liquid. You saw him rising through the ranks of Triumph and joining Team Liquid as the replacement for Nitro upon his departure to Valorant, and seeing his rating definitely strong, of course, against the different sort of opponents at times. And ZywOo and Simple were chasing his rating, both of them in that second and third position with just a 0.2 separating them.
Yeah, that's pretty good news for a guy like Grim, but Blame, Alex, is an in-game leader who can frag. And going into this event of Cologne, he had a rating that is what most star players have. You can see it right there, 1.24 rating. That's what star players have as a rating, not an in-game leader, but Blame, he does it all, right? This guy, we've spoken to him plenty of times. That work ethic is one of the reasons that complexity is such a threat.
Yeah, and taking a look at the most played map, it was actually quite a close one. Inferno did take it at 248 played, but then just behind it, chasing at its heels, was Nuke at 246. So those were our two most played maps coming into this part of the year. And speaking of Nuke, well, look at that. Number one team on Nuke, given its relevancy into the later half of the year, seeing just how much its action it's seeing in the map veto process.
Alex, it's funny that we're doing the number ones going into Cologne. It's actually very, very funny because the next point is Team Vitality, right? And the man you see on your screen here, Alex, he left them just after Katowice. He actually stepped down because of Burnout, one of the key talking points here. And Vitality throughout this year, we've already mentioned it. Blast against Complexity, they lost that final. And CS Summit 6 against Big, they lost that final. So coming into Cologne, this team, they were showing that they were a threat. They got ZywOo there, you got Shocks with some vintage moments, Apex taking over calling, RPK doing monstrous things, and then they had the rookie of Masuda in the mix. They kept making it to grand finals, but they were unable to convert those finals. And we were starting to worry, oh, is this a little bit of a curse? You know, are they unable to pick up those trophies? And look, that question is one we needed answered in Cologne.
Absolutely, and it was time for the group play to start for ESL One Cologne. This is where team trajectory started to change for the year, and for newer lineups, this was their chance to prove they were capable of consistency.
As Jason Lake took to Twitter last summer in the wake of his team's elimination from the Berlin Major, his words reverberated around the Counter-Strike world. The boss had called time on their failing roster. There was now only one goal: to build a juggernaut. The following months would leave Obo the only surviving member of the previous core. Accompanying him would be fellow American and major winner Rush, alongside new in-game leader Blame F. Poison and Config would round out the lineup as Complexity continued to add components to the machine. If Complexity are to build their dynasty, an ESL One Cologne title would be monumental for the cause.
So this is about when I was excited about Complexity. They blast off in their group stage, beating both Mad Lions and Navi with 2-0s. And that's when, you know, I'm starting to be, I don't know, I'm a bit of a Jason Lake fanboy as it is. And the fact that his, like, kind of what initially looked like kind of a misplaced tweet actually manifested into, like, a franchise player in Blame F and, a chance of redemption for Config. It definitely got off to a really big start. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about that story. But one that we have to point out here, guys, and it's not a mistake. This graphic is 100% correct. Let me tell you, Sprout, yeah, they're a German team too. Probably not one you hear too much about. They took out Big within the first round. That threw them into the lower bracket to go up against NIP. And at the time, we were hearing such good things about NIP. They're doing bonkers in practice, you know, Nork's on fire. And we were thinking about how deep they could run within that tournament. Big went out in last place. They were the #1 ranked team in the world at this point, and they've gone out in last. Like, what's going on there?
Well, there's the volatility we were talking about. Yeah, Europe Group B, you can see that Astralis did manage to do what they set out to initially. And outside of their stomp, it was Bubsky and Ettertag. It's worth mentioning that we did get to see the sixth-man roster in action throughout their group stage play. And that was our first look at it. It certainly didn't seem to hold them back.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, right? We were still learning about Astralis, but we were learning a lot of things about North American Counter-Strike too, because we were wondering how long can these players keep up a high level? And you can see here within Group A, you had Chaos and Furia go through. 100 Thieves not making it through that mix there. That's a bit of a problem. Losing out to the likes of Chaos there is oof, that's not great news. And on the other side, we have to point out, yeah, sure, EG and Liquid get through within those first two spots, but Cloud9, dude, they showed a little bit of promise at the start of the year, but it continues to just go downhill for them.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is where, you know, hindsight is 2020, obviously. This is where the organization starts putting some heat on them. You know, around August mark, you've just had a pretty poor performance in a domestically limited, you know, you're supposed to be competitive on an international scale, and you're falling at the domestic scale. I think that was probably alarm bell start to ring. But yeah, Chaos and Fury are showing good form, and I think that's, you know, that's already eyes us turning and wondering who's going to be the king of NA at the end of the year.
Yeah, and look, as we move forward with this one, we get into the semis, right? And one of the semifinals we had was Team Liquid taking on Chaos Esports. And we learnt that day that they would not be playing their match. You've got the statement on screen here for everybody to read. Now is not the time for games. We are mad. We're exhausted. We know the gaming is part of the problem. We will not be competing in today's ESL One Cologne 2020 match against Team Liquid in order to do our part to move the light where it belongs. On the protests against this country's continued systemic racism and police brutality. Now, that right there was following all of the sporting events and stuff going on within North America at the time. And that one right there was one that we had to sit back and kind of take a bit of a pause.
Yeah, and well, so did Furia. They took a pause as well just the day afterwards. And you can see the playoff bracket here for the North American side of ESL One Cologne. Chaos did meet their demise to Liquid. EG do manage to weather the furious storm, but it was EG once again. This is actually for the second time in a row seeing them best Team Liquid, and this time in the grand finals to pick up the trophy, which actually put them as winning 8 maps against the NA Marvels with a nice 3-2 victory here in Cologne.
Yeah, it's good to see them continuing to get the better of Liquid there, keeping the region quite competitive. One of the notes there is Furia losing to EG as well. That'll come in handy a little bit later, but we obviously had the European side of things as well, Alex, and this is where I think the year started to shift for who the top dogs were.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Take a look at this run. Not only Complexity, who we were, you know, singing the praises of, they met a short end to heroic, but they also managed to run through Vitality in the finals. Not again, surely. Yes, Vitality. A quick 3-0 and heroic making a huge run. One of the biggest wins that Cadian has ever picked up, and I think his reaction speaks for itself.
To secure it right here and right now, 3 casualties, Vitality, comms falling silent. ZywOo, he has not got a part to play in this. Shox does, though. And he's caught Cadian, trying to stabilize, trying to catch their grip. But they're letting it slip.
This hole is so deep. Oh my god. Bear in mind, Apex is in spawn still. He's just baffled, protecting that bomb like his little nest egg. And don't walk in there. Don't go into where all your teammates died.
Yeah, he's walking into the lion's den. And Borup, quad kill. for grand final point for the trophy. This is the first Cologne for Borup, Cadian, Tessus, and they're the last team standing. Unbelievable. Absolutely incomprehensible. Certainly for the French. Wow, Cadian can't quite believe it. Meticulous in the server, victorious in Cologne, your champions of European ESL One Cologne.
And you see how star-studded that trophy room is. Your Liquids, your Navis, your Astralis, your Fanatics, and Heroic are the 2020 champions. I mean, it's a big kind of hallmark for them to be putting their name in such a star-studded Hall of Fame.
The fakey boys were born, right? I think when you see those smiles after, just how pure they were as well. Like that win is, look, sure, Vitality, that's 3 grand finals that they've lost there. But for Heroic, what that kind of meant for them and their trajectory going forward, they became a threat because the type of Counter-Strike that they were playing throughout that tournament, it was legit. You know, it wasn't just a blip on the radar. Heroic came to play, Alex. And I think here as we continue forward to look at Heroic's journey, as the show goes on, people are going to be very surprised at what manifests.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the question was, can you do it again, right? As soon as that's happened, people are desperate to sweep you under the rug in the same way Big Clan getting grouped into Cologne was, you know, right? You're holding the #1 spot. What can you do now? Heroic turning heads with their win. And actually, so did Simple, because at the end of ESL One Cologne, Simple did hold the record for the best KDA in CSGO history. What was it again? KD diff 6,471. That's extra kills to deaths, by the way, just so you can kind of comprehend it. Most players have around 50, 60, even some of it's in the red for some. He has thousands of kills more than he has deaths.
Yeah, that's insane, right? And Simple continues to put up numbers, right? He actually overtook Kenny S, and both of which are primary AWPers, I suppose you could say. So you're expecting the AWPers to do a bit more saving. But the way that Simple plays the game and the fact that he's much more volatile than a primary AWPer, to have a record like that, man, I say he's the best to ever do it. I call him the god of the game. And I think with stat lines like that, you can't really fault that kind of a claim. Maybe now with ZywOo on the scenes, but at least we have 2 deities running around the CS servers.
Yeah, exactly. You can just choose which one works for you best, which is kind of how we do it anyway.
It's like real life.
Yeah, now let's move quickly on from that one. And actually, a little bit of a souring tone. I'm going to sneak this one in there. But after the Rio Major was announced that it was being extended to November, we get another bit of a heartbreak here at the end of ESL One Cologne as it's announced the Major is cancelled and plans to return to LAN with the IEM Global Challenge. Now, the Global Challenge doesn't necessarily manifest in LAN, but it's at least going to be not this domestic, this regionally divided competition at the end of the year, trying to fill that void to some extent.
Yeah, give us something to look forward to, right? The idea of finally getting to see like North American Counter-Strike against European Counter-Strike again, have all the best teams in the server, the final event of the year, the fact that that's going to be the bookend for 2020, right? That was something which I think for a lot of people, players, fans, definitely us on the casting desk, we were getting hyped about, right? We were getting very excited to see that as a prospect. I think if you're all watching this now, you know the outcome. Of where this has all led to. But, you know, to see a tweet like that, Alex, come out, it kind of, you know, tweets don't often fill you with joy, but that one almost did.
Yeah, certainly. Just seeing that we were going to get, you know, a proper test for Furia, a proper test for EG. We are going to put them against European teams again, and we'll finally get to see, you know, who has emerged out of 2020 victorious, glorious. And glorious indeed are some of ESL's social takes. I admit that, you know, some of them make me want to mute the account. So I think I have muted the account on multiple occasions.
I do believe.
Yeah, there's a couple of their hired memers who I don't think have a sense of humor in their body, but you do. You guys liked it. You liked it a lot. And these are some of the top tweets from ESL CS by engagement. What's this one? This is up in the #5 spot. This is the ESL One Cologne teams were announced. Interesting. This is one of the top 5.
Yeah, I think if you take a look at that, right? Yeah, okay. This one right here, people need to watch this because the audio on this is probably the highlight of the tweet. That had, what? At the time that screenshot was taken, almost 270K views. That's wild.
Yeah, well, that's the Simple effect. And we can listen in, I think. Can we tune in? Before Dream starts to become more of a reality. It is an armored P250. Simple, very few ways in.
I'd be impressed if he even gets a kill here. I know it's simple, but this is a very difficult task. They're all trained on the box holes. There is a chance for a flank refresh is looking towards that now, but even still, how does he find a timing on this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No way! He gets 2 of them and he spots them. He hits it. Refresh loses his head and I lose my mind.
How? How? Oh boy. I'm face palming. You're squealing. What? Like, what was that round?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
is
like,
some wild stuff.
I don't know. I mean, you explained it in the Skybox earlier, later, which is shout out to Anders for making that one possible. But we saw that they basically called it clear because he sat in a smoke. So that's the gap, and he manages to somehow make that ridiculous play. And that was just number 4. So what's number 3? If 4 was simple, yeah. 3 is ZywOo.
They've had some moments, I think, here. Are we listening into this one too, or
No,
is this
please,
one maybe
no.
we've played enough? We've played this one enough. Surely people have heard this.
5 and 6.
Well, maths is hard.
Flanked.
Yeah.
Electronic looking for the cleanest finish. She's
Sometimes
been
a kill is
turned
worth
on.
more than one.
ZywOo,
Well, this
no
definitely
help
was
really,
worth
but
more than
still
one
hitting
round, I
shots. He's
think.
already got 3
9
and 4
HP.
and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo!
Oh,
Unbelievable!
And then the next round, he actually does it again. I think he got 2 aces on 1 life in that game, and that was in the 5th map of a grand final.
And the thing is, like, I was speechless throughout those moments. Like, I think you looked over to me, and my jaw was just open. It was like, how has he done this? Look, I know you said, I know you said, right, that you didn't think that the memesters are too funny over there. This next one, number 2, Alex, I think this one, if it is the one I think it is, it actually made me laugh a little bit. This one's to do with, yes, it did. It made me laugh a little bit.
It's not bad, actually.
Yeah, see, there you go.
It's not bad.
I told you
I
there's,
mean-
there's a couple of them with a sense of humor.
Okay, well, it was rewarded. That's the 2nd most popular tweet of 2020. So shout out to the memer that probably gets a brownie point and a sticker on the chart for that one. And our most popular tweet of the year. Our most popular tweet, Chadney, of the year leads us perfectly to our topic after the break. As part of a recently concluded investigation into the exploitation of a spectating bug in ESL and DreamHack CSGO tournaments, we are issuing punishments to the coaches of just 3 teams.
Yikes.
What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
Into the darkest places
rushed the site. They tried to deny the bomb one, but it's a disaster. Furia take it.
He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo!
And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody waiting at home for the biggest scandal of the year. What you're witnessing right now is not another video game. This is the coach bug, and we teased about it before the break, and here you can see it in use. This is the coach of Heroic, Hunden, using the coaching bug. Now, this right here, this footage was made public. With all the news around the coaching bans, and we've got a tweet on screen here from Zevez. When all this went down, when all this news broke, the Counter-Strike world was shook to the core, and I've actually been able to find, a former coach, Yanko from Phases here. Yanko, that bug, mate, the highs are the highs of Heroic just winning ESL One Cologne, and then the next day their coach being banned. Jesus.
Yeah, it's just not a great situation to be in. I think this video shows clearly how broken the bug actually was, because you could spawn in parts of the map that are really important, that are crucial, like Banana on Inferno, Ramp on Nuke, Mid or A site in Mirage, and it's basically a wall hack. Just gives you so much information about how your opponents are playing, their positions, their rotations, reactions, and so forth, that it gives a huge competitive advantage, and definitely is something that should not have been exploited on such a huge margin.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? This hadn't just happened in 2020. This is something that had been going on for years, and there was a lot of people from around the community speaking up, saying, "Hey, look, if you've made this error in judgment, if you've essentially cheated, now would be the time to step on out and admit it, so that we can kind of try and clean up the scene and fix any of the damage that had been done." And there was one specific individual who felt like he had a lot to say about it. This was Starix. He used to be a coach of Navi at one point, also was a legendary member of Navi back in the 1.6 days. And you can see here, he's come out and said, Valve's supposed to release all the names of coaches who are doing this. Not only Mihao, who is one of the investigators, by watching gigabytes of demos, everyone wants to know the names and clean the CSGO pro scene. I think this was a pretty common standpoint, right, Yanko?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it was like, now you're not sure, who was using it, who knew about it. It began for me, Lord tagged everyone in a tweet, and I didn't know what he was talking about, but apparently some of the other coaches have experienced it or seen it in practice, and apparently there have been quite a few who have actually been using it.
Yeah, and now I know I made a couple of tweets about this, but Starix made one more, and
this is the best
honest,
part.
I don't
this is the
remember
best tweet,
what
chat.
I was
This is one of the best.
Seems
this
like
is like this is an example. This could be a candidate for tweet of the year. I don't remember using it. Seems like I did. Well, nothing to say on my side. Yeah, mate, it looks pretty much like you've been using it. Like, I don't know, it's just ridiculous, how he was calling out people for it to begin with, and then, well, nothing to say on my side. I mean, nothing to say on my side either, Starix, I guess.
This is the thing, though, right? People who are playing at home maybe don't understand this. You see the camera just move a little bit there. He has the ability to turn the camera, so he's done it at some point in his career. But this is the key point, right? ESIC has come out and they've started this investigation with official sanctions. And you can see here, scrolling through, there were a lot of coaches that went down. We had Hunden from Heroic Go, we had Regen from Mouse Sports, we had Zona from Hard Legion, and we had Dead from MIBR. Now, the Regen and Zona ones stick out a lot here. Regen used it for 116 rounds. Zona for 424 rounds. That isn't just getting in a bug and going, oh yeah, let's see what this is about. This is something that has been happening over a long period of time, right, Yanko? It's not the behavior we want in the Counter-Strike scene by any means.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's also, a couple of different cases with people using it or just having it for a couple of rounds, reporting it to admins and so forth. I think there's a clear difference between guys like that and, people like Zoner, Regin, Hunden, who have been using it on different maps in a lot of rounds as well. So they clearly knew what they were doing and were trying to exploit it for competitive advantage. And I think for me, what we're seeing now, this tweet about Heroic keeping Hunden in the organization and so forth, I want to call out all these orgs again publicly on this show for doing that. It's, yes, the ESIC ban is for them not being able to be with the team in official games, but ESIC doesn't hold, power like we have in maybe regular sports or like in the normal justice system. So I think there should be still a degree of ethics, of moral values that some of these tier 1 organizations like Heroic, like Ants, as well should hold themselves to, and really just cut all ties with these people who have been banned for cheating until their ban expires. I mean, I want to give props to Mouse Sports because they're the one big org that has done that. There's no question that Regin was a big part of their team and their success late last year, early this year as well. Similar as to Hunden is to Heroic or Twista to Ants, all big parts of their respective teams. But it can't all be just about winning by any means necessary. I also believe, from being a coach, that we should be also held to higher standards. We are pedagogues in a way, working with young adults, teenagers in some respective cases, and I think we need to set the tone, set the example. And for me, it was just extremely disappointing. I was in disbelief that so many of my peers and colleagues would jeopardize and smear the name of Counter-Strike, the integrity of our game. And yeah, I am all for making this a bit more severe, and I'm all down for giving people second chances once their ban expires, but until then, that they have to serve their sentence, so to speak.
Yeah, do the crime, do the time. Yeah. So anyway, we want to pivot with this into a couple of the heroes behind this, right? It was Steve and Mihao, the two individuals who put in so much of their own time into making this happen, and they were recognized by the Esports Awards just not that long ago. This was the Panel's Choice Award, and we've got Steve on your screen and Mihao here. These two guys basically sunk hours upon hours of time going through these demos and trying to find out if people had been exploiting this bug to uphold that integrity that you were talking about. So it's fantastic to see them recognized, and that kind of effort. They have helped to at least point us in the right direction, would you say, Yanko?
Definitely. And initially it was just the two of them manually going over demos and trying to find instances of this bug being exploited until they got some help in, also software wise and so forth. So yeah, I want to give them huge props as well again for doing that and kind of starting the snowball that turned into an avalanche in the end.
Yeah, and here's the deal. The coaching drama is not over, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. ESIC, they still have an investigation going. It's not closed yet, and we've been told that there is potential for more news to come out even within 2020. So keep your eyes tuned and ears tuned for that one right there. But look, there's been a lot of Counter-Strike teams in 2020 that have crumbled. There's been a lot that have tried to rebuild, and we're going to talk about that after the break. But before we do, we're going to look at the top fails from 2020. So let's take that one away.
No frags, all favour the Danes, trying to deny the plant. His crosshair placement is perfect, and he does hold the spray. Oh, that is colossal. No lineup. Oh, they both line up.
Both dead, Burnout, get on it. Get on it.
Didn't even know, and he's lost the round.
He had time.
He had the time. I'm done.
Heartbreaker for Heroic there. Absolute heartbreaker.
8 seconds, he's got to move. Not going to use the molly, in fact, just going straight down for the bomb plant. That is very brave. And they think it's B? Oh no, that's going to cost him so much time. And with the HP, he will have heard one of those players running towards vents, maybe even dropping down. And if this door is open, I think the round is done. Are they still down there? They still think it's B.
No idea, man.
Oh, they've lost.
No idea. All right, GG. Can we call them North now?
Can we cut the stream? I don't want. Oh, this is embarrassing
It's fine.
for them.
They're nading dark just in case.
Oh, they're looking out. They still haven't realized. Yeah, I'll defuse.
Did they
I'll
realize
stick the
now?
defuse.
They're like, where's the bomb? I can hear typing in chat. All right, that was well played, Poison. Nice clutch coming in. 16-8 is the eventual score here.
He's actually just admiring it from a distance.
Are we going to see the Doja, but with a rifle, try and shoot these players in the back of the pit and then run away? Even just a bit of damage would do it. That grenade. Oh, it missed. Budget Doja, we call that. He even dies to the bomb. No!
Now, I don't know about you, Yanko, but I feel with the news about North, maybe that AZ and MSL retake on the lower bomb site in the fails could have been a reason they got replaced.
Yeah, I think that's a rough one there. You know, with a high salary, you would expect at least to hit the good bomb side. But yeah, we all know how tricky you can get with the sound cues. It's not the first or last time we see that one happen.
Yeah, that one is a rough one. Now, look, it's probably the easiest clutch of Poison's life, but we're going to talk about some other bits and pieces around the Counter-Strike landscape. There's been a lot of teams who have capitulated this year, and the one I want to kick it off with, mate, is MIBR. We're talking about the legends here, that Fur, Fall, and Taco, even Dead, right? He's a household name as far as MIBR are concerned. They're now no longer a part of this roster. What did you make of this?
Yeah, it's basically the core of the team, right? We'll see later. Fallen as well decided to step down from the active lineup, so that's it. Like the legendary Brazilian lineup that won 2 majors, you know, calling it a day almost in a sense, not through their own will, but I think it shows that the organizations are realizing they need to take more control over the roster moves and the changes, and I think we've seen. How that has affected a lot of teams, not only MIBR.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? I think coming into this year, it was already a rocky road for MIBR. They haven't shown the best results over the last few anyway, and we wanted this team to kick off in a big way and start looking like a threat on the international scene again. That tweet right there, though, from KNG, in my mind, is the biggest of the lot. The fact that he wasn't happy with that move, but we know where MIBR are now. We've seen what they've been doing over there in Flashpoint. They've been here in Europe for a little bit, and they've actually, you know, retooled this lineup. They kept TRK. They've got KNG leading and AWPing on the squad. And then they've brought in Leo Drunky. They've got VSM. And free Lucas is back with free VSM. Lucas is back with KNG. But I think the most genius move of MIBR as an organization here was bringing Kogu back from the dead and putting him in that coaching role. What do you make of that?
I think it's a great call from them. Obviously, you know, a team that's just brought up in so hastily in a sense. You need to have a coach there to help them with some structure and just keeping everyone's spirits up. But come on, Chad, like you can't tell. This is the first time in a long time you're actually excited about the MIBR lineup, right? Like you're watching their games, like you see them jumping around, screaming, cheering. Like that's what we were used to from the Brazilians in their games. We saw it from Fury a bit once they took over as the best Brazilian team. But I think it just shows that the org made a great move. Create a lot of hype for their fans, and they also had some better results, so it looks like a win all around.
Yeah, you can really see the passion for the game shining through again, and I think that's what Brazilian Counter-Strike has been built on, so hopefully more of that in the future. But something that we kind of need to stop is this exodus from North American Counter-Strike, right? Triumph, that squadron, we've got Chaos as well, a team now who's losing backing. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the North American region that is negative, right? Chaos are meant to be here at the Global Challenge, and they were unable to make it, obviously, due to a plethora of different reasons. But North America, it's losing a bit of steam, mate. But I don't know if we need to dig too much in on that. There's something that I want to talk about, and you seem to be changing and chopping where you're headed, right?
Yeah, I mean, we see that also another team that made changes is FaZe Clan. Nico going to G2, obviously the star player of the lineup. Me as well stepping down as the coach. I just felt that it was a good moment to you know, let the team start fresh in a sense by their in-game leader leaving, and me as coach, I get to bring in some new faces who can take the team forward, because there's definitely a lot of talent on FaZe, young talent in terms of Brocky too, who can develop into one of the best players in the world for sure. So I think the players as well, the organization deserves a chance to start 2020 with some new guys on the team and just do whatever they can to bring them back to #1 spot.
Got to ask quickly about Nico. How's G2 going to fare with him on board?
I think they're going to do amazing in 2021. We'll see if they decide to make some further changes, but I think once they have time to practice a bit more, really get used to Nico on their team and his play style and how they can unleash him to his full potential, they're definitely one of contenders for the #1 spot in next year.
And we have to talk about our very good friend Henry here. Obviously, people may have seen that he's now made a move over towards Cloud9 to be the GM. And this has restructured the way we look at CS teams, right? Henry with the Colossus. We've got the Juggernaut with Complexity, with the Colossus, and quite a funny picture here.
I can confirm this is how he looks in real life as well. I've seen him a couple of weeks back in Belgrade. So, yeah, he's been hitting the gym.
Well, I think here with Hank getting to rebuild this team, he's kind of changing the way, and maybe a little bit in that similar vein as what you're saying about MIBR, really taking control of the rosters, deciding how the team is going to operate, deciding players for roles, and making it all click and work. So Cloud9, they've made some massive changes this year. The only player left from that team was Floppy. He's the only man left there, but we have a whole bunch of roster changes we need to look at. So let's take a look at the top roster changes from 2020.
If ever there was a time for them to step up, it would be right here. And right now, Tessa's getting closed in on. Does find the first. Hunter's gone. Nearly a third. Gets another. Head off of Amanek. Maybe Tessa's can do it. He does it. Big time players making big time plays.
There's no one else you'd want in this.
Look how safe EG are playing this.
They are not going to make any mistakes with this one. Stan and Breezy being as patient, as calm as they can be. Another fake comes in. He draws them closer. With every cue, they line. Oh my God! The spray, JKS!
This is a replay. Same exact pathway run. This time, JKS not going to miss the second engagement, though. He'll get that. He'll keep following it up. What a B anchor he is turning into B right now. And yeah, I don't know. They're going to get slaughtered here. Tizian, last one left. And getting shot through. JKS is the thing on that one.
Vera, I need a frag out here. And he has found Flamey. Boomich with the bomb on his back up high. Can't hit the flick, down to 48 electronic mollies. Running out of safe haven. Jiggles and hits the shot as well. Go on, Navira. He saves them with a triple kill. Apex desperately trying to do as much damage as he can to set Navira up for success. It's not easy for Navi to get back into this though.
A kit here between the two of them.
They're running low on time. And that's the info, that's the tag. Navira tucked in. The last of their util as well. Should be the frag for Navira. Needs a second clean headshot necessary. No time for Perfecto, and just tucking in is the winning move. Navira's confirmed it. The triple kill for him. The Belgian posting the first round for Vitality.
And as cliche as it is, Navira has been vital for Vitality in their trophy lifts this year, but a lot's happened. We've had Swole Patrol disband, Chet leaves Counter-Strike, Nitro leaves Liquid, Steel joins him over at 100 Thieves on the Valorant roster. We've got VP back in action looking like a contender. CSGO Hub is launched, DreamHack merged with ESL, Glaive returns to the Astralis roster, and we've got them picking up Season 12 of EPL over Navi in a grand final that won't be forgotten anytime soon. I could go on for hours with all the changes that we've seen across the Counter-Strike landscape here in 2020, but let's go to a break.
If you want to know what you're good at and, well, also what you suck at, check out csgohub.com. Coming!
We were caught in the fire. Our faith was left out in the open. Saw the fear in your eyes as we move through the dust. Nights turn into days, one by another. Under darkened skies, we await, bound to each other. But our spirits never die. Faded as we push through the darkest times. I'll be there by your side. We arise when everything's breaking. Our souls will awaken. Our spirits never die.
They rushed the site. They tried to deny the bolt on, but it's a disaster. Furia take it.
He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo!
Well, we all know there's no breaks in 2020. The year doesn't stop, and it definitely didn't with Counter-Strike. Things just kept going tournament after tournament. But we got to turn our attention to the first events to qualify for the IEM Global Challenge, and that was IEM New York, at least as far as the North American side of things was concerned. But let's look at Europe first and foremost, because the team that won the event, Janko, was yours, FaZe over OG.
Of course, Chad, the one time where you don't get to qualify for the biggest event at the end of the year, that's the one we're going to win. But yeah, it was a great event for us, all things considered. It was a little bit of a revenge tour. We actually didn't drop a map in any of the games we won this tournament. We beat the likes of obviously OG in the final with a 3-0 sweep, Vitality in the semifinal, Heroic in groups, and Big, who were actually Big was a team that we struggled a lot in the first part of the season. So yeah, it was definitely a feel-good moment. We played some good CS, players played great individually, and I think it was also a really important tournament for them in terms of the points for Katowice.
Yeah, exactly that. They've actually qualified for IEM Katowice now, the Masters Championship next year. That gave them 400 ESL Pro Tour points. That locked them in there. And they were on the verge of not qualifying. They were going to potentially have to play in that qualifier. So it's a huge win, something that they definitely needed. But something that Furia needed was another trophy, right? At this point, Furia really picking up steam within the North American region. And they had the grand final against 100 Thieves. Now, this one right here was actually... it was a final that had a lot on the line. You can see the brackets here on your screen right now. Furia getting over Team Liquid. Furia defeating EG. That victory right there is the one that you really need to sink your teeth into. And then the grand final of Furia versus 100 Thieves. Now, Janko, this final right here, it was a bit of a whitewash.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it also shows that Furia made a statement with this tournament win. As you mentioned, they beat Liquid, EG, and 100 Thieves, 3 of the best teams in the region outside of themselves. So definitely a deserved win and a deserved spot at the Global Challenge. They're playing some sexy Counter-Strike, for sure, entertaining to watch, a bit wild at times, but that's what we're used to from the Brazilians.
Yeah, it was important to get them locked in, right? Because we wanted to see them on European soil, and I think this opened the door to at least get them out here for a longer period of time. But it was a pretty somber moment as well. 100 Thieves earlier in the year had announced that they were going to be departing Counter-Strike, and you can see here on screen that the 100 Thieves organization, they stepped back from Counter-Strike. They released the roster, and JKS, that's what opened up the move for him to go across to Complexity. But there's some points here, is the fact that this team, if you're unfamiliar with it, was basically representing an entire region, you know, Oceania for a long period of time. And JKS and Azza, they'd been playing together since early 2014. So if that puts it in a bit of context for everybody out there, it was a crazy amount of time for that duo. Are there many other duos out there, Janko, that have been together that long?
No, not since we had some of the OGs, you know, get separated, like Forest and Getright. Or I guess you maybe look at some from Astralis, like Device and Dupree have probably been together for a really long time, something along those lines. But yeah, definitely a lot of love for the boys down under and what that lineup has achieved. I'm happy to see some of them at least make the transition, like JKS, and hopefully some of the other ones will as well.
Yeah, and look, we've got to cover off the DreamHack Open win as well. Heroic picked up another trophy just a little bit earlier. They were able to take down the likes of Vitality to win ESL One Cologne. Well, they did it again here and picked up the trophy at DreamHack Open, and that secured them a slot at the IEM Global Challenge at the end of the year. And there were so many aces in that event. I don't think I've seen an event with so many individual plays of that grandeur. There were 31 aces in total, and we can't put all of those into a video because that'd just take for bloody ever, but we did get you the top aces of the year, so let's show you those instead.
This is the weapon that has changed the tide of New T's side, but blamey, ridiculous! Ace, 5 kills, 5 seconds, and it's the 4th on the board for Navi. ZywOo, no health really, but he's still hitting shots. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my God, ZywOo! Unbelievable!
It's just Chris Bomb in his hand though. Planting this, he started that before the Molotov. In fact, Molotov's not going to reach him, and he might chase down at least get one.
good start. Aggressive. Finds out Flamey. Not done there. Sees the play on the tracks. He's actually got Simple down. We know this guy can ace. We saw it in New York. He's got it into a 1-on-2. And he's actually sliding away. He's got another shot on Boomich. Is this guy up for the play of the decade already in 2020? He nearly got it in 2018. As Chris sneaks away, Electronic is found. He's baited him out. He's got the time in his favor. What an ace clutch this would be. He's got the bomb off the situation. And he's got Electronic down. Put it in for play of the year already. What a clutch from Chris.
Now, it might feel like IEM Beijing just finished a couple of weeks ago, and that's because it did. But that was the last way or last chance for teams to qualify for the Global Challenge. Now, that one right there, if we look at the North American side of things, I think everybody would be quite surprised with the two teams we had in the final, right, Yanko?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We had the likes of Triumph and Chaos playing the grand final, beating EG and Liquid respectively on the way up. And I think it's great that teams actually, because this was a crucial tournament. I know online it's difficult, like all the tournaments feel the same, but this was for a spot at the global finals. So a tournament probably a bit more important than some of the other ones they had in the region. And I think it should also serve as a little bit of a wake-up call for both of these, you know, longer standing rosters like Liquid and EG. And we saw that, you know, Liquid fortunately did manage to grab a spot at the Global Challenge, and they decided to come to Europe for a boot camp too. So maybe they did take it seriously, you know, the fact that they couldn't even make the grand finals.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And now I'm definitely glad to have you back on the desk as someone who can echo that thought with me that EG and Liquid might need to pull up their socks a little bit. But if we take a look on the other side of that coin, we obviously had Europe, right? And we needed to see which teams were going to be making it through that bracket. And there were big names. We had Vitality versus Navi in the grand final right there. And things started fantastically for Navi. I'm sitting there, we're casting this, we're thinking, okay, we're going to be home in plenty of time. There'll be time for, you know, a couple of bevies before we get home and everything. It's not going to be a late finish, but Vitality, they had something to say about this one right here. Full length best of 5. We went all the maps, and it was a reverse sweep. That's not every day of the week.
Definitely not. And I have to give props to Vitality. They've started this 6-man roster thing. They were the first team to actually use it actively, and they become the first team to win a tournament by using 6 actually, you know, different player combinations as well in the grand final. And I think it's a great opportunity for teams with so many games, with everything being online, to experiment a little bit with these 6-7-man rosters, even the likes of Astralis, and just see what works best for them and what doesn't.
Yeah, some of the things that I really liked about this, and what we'll do is for everybody, in case you're unfamiliar with how this works out, the starting roster, I suppose, is still ZywOo, Shox, Apex, RPK, and Masuta. They play the lion's share of the maps, right? We're talking Nuke, Overpass, Mirage. We've got Vertigo in there as well, where that's the roster that they're rocking to kick things off. But there's 2 specialty maps, because Navira was the 6th man to join this team. He comes in to replace Masuta on Dust 2, takes over the duties over towards that B-bomb site, gets to do some secondary AWPing. And then on Inferno, he replaces Shox. Shox of all names, one of the absolute legends of the game, and that has really changed the way that their CT side Inferno plays, and for the good. But you mentioned Astralis there for a second, Yanko. It kind of feels like they were trying to pull the wool over our eyes with that whole 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whoever knows how many players that they were going to go with their roster. It's finally leveled out a bit now though, right?
Yeah, maybe they were going for 11 players so they could play, you know, football on the big pitch. But it seems to have simmered down a little bit now with Bubsky just being the 6th player on the roster, and we see him being integrated more and more. Definitely one of the more talented young players in the Danish scene, just in general. And yeah, seems to be a good pickup. We will have to wait and see exactly how it pans out, but Astralis have been known to be one of the pioneers when it comes to player development, player care as well. So I'm very interested to see how this unfolds coming into next year, and also how many other rosters we will see try and adopt this style, because we do have some over in NA who've been trying to do it.
Yeah, I think we have to keep in mind that, like, Ents did it for a little while. That seemed like a bit of a ruse. Cloud9, we've heard from Henry, publicly stated it a couple times that he wants to get a 6th member for this team. Now, depending on which player, which type of role, that is open for interpretation right now. Furia is another one who've mentioned that they're showing a little bit of interest in that. So I think you bang on. With this online era, it's probably more likely to see more and more teams take these type of risks, go for these types of chances, because if it was working for Vitality, why the hell not try it? But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. There's been lots of changes in terms of rosters. There's been lots of changes in terms of how the makeup of teams look. But there's also been a couple of breakout players this year. So let's take a look at who they are.
Maybe some fights he can take, but the Molotov gives away his position. He's looking to try and find a fight that's favorable. The Molotov gives him enough cover so he can cross behind the car. He's really trying to... Okay then, nice shot from Brocky. I was going to say trying to play the mind games here, but now he crosses to the bomb site safely just as Ships goes off the angle. Fake plant from Brocky. Second shot is good, and it's into the 1 versus 1 against Letney. Letney's flanking from long. Brocky's not ready for this right now. He's looking at short. Oh, Brocky, he does check long. He gets the information, and now Brocky is just going to go for it. He goes for the fight and wins it.
4 players now on the A bomb site. No! The lineup. 1 bullet, 2 kills from Mantu, and a 3rd kill as well. He looks to end it all. A 4th from Mantu. And now just 1 more player left. It's Favin alone in a 1v3. And just as Sprout look like they have any sort of life, Mantu shows up, the Grim Reaper on the server, and Favin is left in a 1 versus 3 clutch. Mantu wants it all. He wants to finish it, and he's done it.
I guess it's easy to identify Heroic as being the younger players, but yeah, spot on with the Masuta. Oh, uh-oh,
Yes.
sound.
The flank from Masuta could have big ramifications, but no, the gap found, and so's the frag. Apex on logs, that's been communicated. Masuta to swing in for the flank. Cadian's keeping him safe and sound. Or safe and sound.
Apex?
Oh, was the comms? Oh! Well, I mean, that one will take... He's read it. That's exactly where Shox is going to be. A lovely little intuition, but he's still checking down by T-stairs.
See? He did.
He's double dipping.
Oh,
I've
no.
never seen Shox miss those. That is a worrying sign. And I've got to say, Heroic look confident, and the man at the helm is down right now.
Oh, they're walking up to this. Even with the first pick, maybe he gets another. They're going to go right into it. Oh, collateral. Searson, he's moving into this B bomb site now because unless the whole team is here, there is space to be made. Searson, the difference maker. He has more kills in this round alone than the rest of the map. It's fantastic. Searson acing.
Yakinda managed to worm his way in towards jungle several times, being nuisance by the stairs as well. And that Navi. Oh! Okay, doesn't need to see him. Smoke there, player there, don't matter. Whole wall was in the way, but he knows exactly where they'd like to sit, and Yakinda's just carrying on. This guy's just tearing through them now.
Yeah, he's considering Lollipop as well, and he's aiming tonight. Yakinda having a final.
Stop making noise, perhaps.
Oh. Wait a second, wait. Okay, no. Oh.
Jump on his head, and then knife him twice.
Let's go.
Yes! Nice, Yakinda.
Yakinda's sick.
Patience. Some real standout names there in 2020, Yanko. Which one of those 5 is the well, I don't want to say the biggest breakout, but which one of those 5 do you think is going to be the superstar for years to come?
How can you ask me this question, Chad? Obviously, I'm going to say my boy Brocky. I have to say Brocky. I think he's going to be amazing. I think he has a lot of potential. And I'm looking forward to seeing him flourish. But just so not to say my boy Brocky, I'd have to say, I'm surprised by how young Staven is. Like, he's still 18 years old only, and he's been playing for a while on the top level. I think Kinder has probably been the one who broke out the most. And Searson, he's a bit older than the rest of the guys. He's 24. I mean, that sounds funny just in itself, calling him older. But I mean, I felt his wrath firsthand. So if I have to go through my painful memories, Chad, I would have to say Searson left the biggest impression this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. I've been heavily impressed with Mantu as well. A guy came up through the German scene, gets picked up into OG, gets his first real bouts within the tier 1. And he's actually been the best player for OG in my mind. So been some great Counter-Strike in 2020, been some younger names stepping up in a very big way. And I'm sure that bedroom environment has probably helped a lot of them with that integration. But that base... Yeah, well, that helps too. But we're basically wrapping up the year here. There's only one thing left to talk about, and that's going to be after the break. We've got a sneak peek of the Global Challenge and what to expect.
What's your style? merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
They've got very few seconds remaining. They have to close this gap, use Crystal to get the information. And the fact that he's still alive is information. Makalele does get one. He's low.
Oh,
that nade, it's not going to do enough damage to Makalele. He can get on it. They don't have a kit. I will reiterate, he has to win this fight now. They're running out of time. And just like that, Masuta has secured it. Remember the name.
It's been the storyline of the day. Are we going to see those mid-match substitutions coming out from Vitality? And indeed, we are. Masuta is going to be coming out. Nivera is going to be coming in next for Dust2.
Navi.
They're not even looking.
RPK. Oh, what a shot from Shox. It's on to Boomich. He's been shut down. Flamey to clutch up. 1v2. Shox is playing with him. He needs to pick up that bomb. He's managed to do that, but with 19 seconds, he's running straight into ZywOo, and he hits the shot. Vitality have done it. Finally, there's a trophy in the cabinet for that headquarters. It's chock-a-block full of stuff. But the French, 5th time's the charm. Team Vitality, the 6-man roster.
I mean, what a team they have turned out to be this year, Chad, right? I'm back, by the way, hello.
Welcome.
But my goodness, Vitality, probably one of my favorite storylines of the year. Like, honestly, just you heard that final round. This last tournament, I can't even tell you which one it was. What was it called?
That was Beijing.
Yes, that's the Badger. That last tournament, that was my final conversion, you know, like just getting to see that Vitality could convert and pull it across the finish line. I really love how good Navira's been in that new integration and new spot.
Yeah, it's really just reshaped the way we look at Counter-Strike now as well. And I have to echo that sentiment. I was critical of Apex taking over that in-game leader role, but he's taken a lot of work this year and he's done a fantastic job with this team. And now he's set them up in Group A for the Global Challenge here as one of the contenders for this tournament, right? What a year it's been. But when you look at this, they're going up against Big. We got Complexity against Astralis. That doesn't sound like a group. That sounds like a playoff bracket.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case throughout the Global Challenge, at least in this case. I mean, Complexity going up against Astralis, starting things off, it is going to be a David versus Goliath story. Don't forget, Poison's not in attendance. So that's definitely going to put a big question mark around Complexity. But how long has, you know, JKS been in this roster now? Is he starting to find more comfort? Can he have the star power to pull them across the line with a sub? It's a bit of a super sub. Have we talked about that?
Yeah, we dived into him a little bit earlier, but one of this, oh, wait, no, we didn't. I've just called myself off guard. Otond, right, coming on in. That individual right there. We don't know how this is going to work, but if I was going to give you a little bit of a nugget to get excited, ladies and gentlemen, Poison has not been playing his best Counter-Strike in recent times, and having an AWPer come in who gets to be flexible because he is a substitute, he will get to take some risks. That right there becomes a very, very scary prospect for Astralis going up against that unknown quantity. But I think here as well, this could be the start of Vitality's kind of revenge tour, Alex. They lost CS Summit 6 earlier in the year to Big. Now they get a chance to knock them out of a tournament early.
God damn, yeah, you're right. That is going to be a prime opportunity for revenge. We'll see if they can serve it cold. And far from cold is South America. Furia in Group B are riding into the Global Challenge as one of the most ferocious beasts in attendance. And these boys have turned it on throughout 2020, and they are one of the few teams featured in Group B.
They're going to come down the ladder in front of him. He's going to show that he's right there. Yeah, there's a player that can flank. He's going to get that kill too.
Done. It's done. Nitro, he's tapped down. Art finishes the round, and we crown our champions. DreamHack Masters Spring 2020 belongs to Furia.
They're just not looking to give fights up. They're holding this smoke. They're ready for a man to creep through in case Zerato gets it done. Furia, they finally take down EG. They put a stop to their undefeated winning streak on Inferno.
We've seen Jacob try and play around those smokes, use them as one-ways in his advantage before. Oh, and they've actually gone... What is happening here? What is this? Okay, I have no... What are we seeing?
Where's Yuri off to?
What are we seeing?
Yuri, that's filthy. Where is he?
Wait, is he boosted?
He's just up there.
This I have not seen before, ladies and gentlemen. I have not seen this before.
Just for the boost alone, Chad, I'm really hoping we get to see some Vertigo coming into the Global Challenge. Man, you haven't seen that one before, and neither had I.
The Counter-Strike world had it. That was absolutely insane. And the craziest thing is, while that play is going down, Henny gets a double kill with the AWP on the other side of the server. It's like, what's going on? But that round right there, it left me gobsmacked, mate. I cannot believe that teams are still finding ways to innovate on these maps, considering all the Counter-Strike we're seeing get played.
Yeah.
Fury have had a phenomenal year.
And there's been some weird roster rumors circulating about some of the biggest names in this roster. So a big result here, it feels compulsory if those whispers are to be believed. I don't want to, considering just what a beautiful storyline this Furia roster has been through thick and thin and through the rise of the ranks of not only on the domestic scene, but now, of course, against all international odds. It is going to be a very big test for Furia, and I'm excited to see how they fare in Group B.
Yeah, that's where we need to turn our attention, right? Because there's some massive names in Group B as well. You know, Group A, we had the likes of Big, we had Astralis in the mix there, obviously Vitality. But Group B, as we take a look at the bracket, has some huge names as well. We've got Navi versus Furia as the opener. We've got Heroic with the Fakey Boys taking on Team Liquid. Team Liquid, Alex, are our only team who do not feature within the top 10 with the ESL World Rankings. They're the outsiders. Last year in 2019, we were talking about them as one of the favorites to take home tournaments. Now they're the quite literal dark horse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, it is with a bit of a different switch up that we acknowledge the absence of chaos. Now, these boys have had such a turbulent year, from what we talked about earlier on in the show to truly trying to be the gatekeepers of the tier 1 in North America. Like, they kept everyone honest throughout these tumultuous times. And some of the most promising rising North American talent that we have seen grace our servers in many years, in Zeppa, Leaf, and many more, are at the moment without a home and unable to attend the event that they did absolutely qualify for. Let's take a look, though, at some of their best moments this year, because Chaos have had quite the year.
Chaos Esports Club to take it right back and end this final out. 3-1. These are your North American champions of the Intel Extreme Masters Beijing 2020 Online. It's Chaos Esports Club.
Vanity late out through the heart, uncontested. No one even knows. He gets the info that A is clear, and Ethan's going to try come back up the vent, but the timing just isn't there. Into the site he goes, Marky with the kill, and EG now a man down, retaking this A site. It's all on Cirque. He does get the first, but that is it. Chaos, they take the victory. Grand finals locked in for the Chaos Esports Club. You don't drop these guys, they drop you. They're now going to the grand final. They're facing down against Triumph, and that's all happening tomorrow.
Out of thin air, Chaos maybe close this on map 3.
And they had to go and get the bomb, so they avoided all of Nitro's damage utility.
He's got the AK swapped over. He's got the smoke and the flash to try and play. No utility for the T's to hold on, and voltage is so incredibly low.
He killed it.
Oh, he's got it! Zeppa, of course, the god of map 2, comes to life in the 1v1, and Steel can't believe it. When is the last time Steel picked up a victory not on one map, but a match versus the top of North America?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a year that those boys will never forget. Like, I mean, committing to that. Steel, of course, setting his sights elsewhere. And, of course, now we set our sights on the very top player of the year. Chad, this conversation, I mean, it just feels redundant at this point. Like,
it's a two-horse race.
It's a two-horse race. It's a two-horse race. And I feel like it comes down just to a matter of opinion.
And you bang on there. And I think, you know, if you go back to what you quoted from Anders' tweet before, that's a perfect way to look at these two individuals yet again. And once again, they both had fantastic years throughout. For their team, they have been workhorses. You've had ZywOo in a squad that has had to retool. Different in-game leader. They brought in another young player of Masuta, and they were the first to experiment properly with the 6-man roster. And ZywOo still continues to be a monster throughout. Navi, we know the story within that Navi camp. Some days they look like they want to beat the living daylights out of each other. Some days they look like they're having the best time of their lives. But regardless of that, Simple is dropping bombs. And as this year is heating up and as we're getting closer and closer towards the close of 2020, both of these players are playing some of their best CS of the year. So if we get them going head-to-head in this global challenge, mate, I just want some fireworks.
Yeah, dude, okay, so they're both in attendance. The battle for #1 is absolutely still underway, and this event may very well decide it. But recently we saw a fantastic ace from ZywOo, or ZywOo, depending on how your bread is buttered. But let's check it out from a few different perspectives.
But where's ZywOo's frags? He's got to start posting something, but from where? What vantage point can he possibly seize? He's even been flanked. Electronic looking for the cleanest finish. He's been turned on. ZywOo, no health really, but he's still hitting shots. He's already got 3 and 4 and 5 and oh my god, ZywOo! Unbelievable!
Navi hat die Knife Round gewonnen, darf dementsprechend auf der CT-Seite starten. ZywOo jetzt im 1 gegen 3, die Runde wird schwierig. Was? ZywOo mit dem Ace in 6 Sekunden. Er holt sich jeden einzelnen Klick.
Faudrait un premier contact gagnant. Le problème, c'est l'électronique dans le dos qu'on n'anticipe pas du tout. Déjà, les dégâts sont considérables. ZywOo ne va pas pouvoir s'exprimer, mais il continue malgré tout car il est doué. ZywOo qui pourrait continuer. ZywOo, le quadruplé. C'est impossible. Ce round n'existe pas. Non, c'est impossible.
ждут, пока игрок из ямы подтянется. Это электроник, он видит ZywOo, просто имеет спину. В голову, конечно, тяжело в спину попасть. Не получилось. ZywOo еще и Симпла приговаривает. Еще одного приговаривает, еще одного! Как это возможно?
Y han conseguido el plan, que tal y como están las cosas, ya casi es ganar media ronda. Uy, uy, lo que ha fallado el Papatronic, ha tenido hasta 7 oportunidades para matar. Si uno ha podido con ello, ahora se me ve la batida. ¡No! 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 ¡No!
Tulossa. Tämän pitäisi kyllä siinä tehdä tää kierros, vaikka menee vähän spreijaamiseksi eikä vähänkään. Ei kaunista Electronic. Tulo pääsee klutsit tilanteeseen! Mitä nää headshotit on? ZywOo S! Ei mikä kämmi Electronicilta ja ZywOo 2 sekunnin sisään tiputtaa 4 pelaajaa.
I bloody love that. I can't decide who I like more, Russia or French. I think I don't know. Clearly, you know, the passion for the Counter-Strike play, something as ridiculous as that transcends all language.
If you get the Finns yelling, Alex, you've definitely done very good. The fact that whoever the co-commentator was in the Finnish one, he just laughed after it. Like, I didn't say anything. He had a bit of a giggle. Maybe that's what I should have done. That was like, it's so ridiculous. Oh my God.
All that does is just whet my appetite for the global challenge. We will very well be seeing both Simple and ZywOo stepping into the server in an international competition for the big bucks. And that's pretty much where we leave it. I think what's most important to wrap this one up and put a beautiful bow on it is to take another litmus test of those world rankings. As of November 24th, we are staring at this. Vitality at the tippy top doesn't really surprise me. And seeing the boys heroic, the Fakey boys are coming for that top spot.
Yeah, you have to consider how this looked when we showed you it back there in January, right? Astralis were on top of the charts. You had Mouse Sports in contention for best team in the world. Fnatic as well. Those names are no longer there. Some of the biggest standouts this year have to be Vitality and their consistency. Heroic, just with this roster reshuffle in the middle of the year, looking phenomenal with all 5 members. Navi wanting to finish the year how they started off with Katowice, and Astralis, I'm sure they want to reclaim this throne. We've also got Complexity in the mix with a bit of a stand-in. That's not fantastic for them. Big, they've been given a lifeline here. Let's see how far they can take this. And the one you don't see on screen, yeah, well, that's Liquid. I didn't mention Furia, but they'll make themselves heard.
I think Furia will do their own announcing. I mean, just seeing the names in that roster as they've developed into, you know, like they've all got their own flavor now. Like okay, Chad, if I'm just going to read you Furia's 5 names and remember, you just remember how you think of them now. Art. Yeah. You've got a very strong opinion of Art now. Yuri, starting to develop one, certainly. K. Serato, have you seen him? He's now like a little Instagram model. He's got a confidence and he's fragging out in and out of the server, if you know what I'm saying. Vinny, as well. This kid's got personality and he's a little heartthrob. Love him. And then Henny with his hat backwards hitting no scopes. Like they've got flavor to them now. And I'd love to see them here on the international scale because we haven't got to see this all year. And that's my piece. I'm excited. I'm very, very ready to be getting this this attempt at a kind of a closure to the year in the global challenge.
Yeah, you look at this, there's very, very difficult to pick a favorite. I feel like you have to kind of go with your gut. And I think that there's a couple of teams that should be on the tip of the tongue. I think that Navi, though, I think that they're the ones. I just feel like they're building up steam for whatever reason. I'm going to take them as the team to look out for in the global challenge to lift that trophy.
I got my eyes on the French, so that plays nicely. Let's get this global challenge started. There's nothing left to do.
Give it if you need to. I have another. Watch me go behind again.